Massachusetts is famous for its colonial history, ivy-covered mansions, and meticulously maintained gardens. But some gardens hide secrets darker than their pristine lawns suggest. Visitors speak of statues that shift positions when no one is looking, of shadows flitting between marble columns and hedges at night, of soft whispers carried by the wind, though no one is near. At certain estates, the flowers bloom only in moonlight, glowing faintly with an unearthly hue. And in some gardens, the air itself feels alive, heavy with the gaze of something unseen. Some who wander too far never return. Others flee in terror, clutching memories that will haunt them for a lifetime. Tonight, we step into the 25 most haunted mansion gardens in Massachusetts. Gardens where statues move, shadows linger, and the past refuses to rest. Where the beauty of marble and flowers hides secrets that will chill even the bravest soul. Step lightly. The statues are watching, and the gardens remember every visitor who dares to wander within. Hello, dear friend. I hope this message finds you well and that tonight you are ready to walk paths few dare to tread. Massachusetts has a long history of wealth, elegance, and opulence. Mansion gardens, once designed for leisure, now conceal something far more sinister. Statues of angels, mythological figures, and historical figures stand frozen in daylight. But at night they move. They shift subtly at first, then with a deliberate grace. Visitors have reported statues turning their heads to follow intruders. Eyes that should be carved cold now seem to glimmer with life. Some claim to have heard soft footsteps behind them, only to find marble guardians staring silently. Others feel cold hands brush their shoulders, though no one else is near. The gardens themselves seem to breathe, the flowers swaying as if pushed by invisible forces. And whispers call names long forgotten, stories of past owners' tragedies, and secrets buried beneath the soil. Before we begin, let me ask you something. If you were walking through a mansion garden at midnight and noticed a statue slowly turning to watch you, would you run, or would you stay and confront whatever lurks in its gaze? Think carefully. Your answer may reveal the courage or fear that lies within you. May your curiosity guide you safely through these haunted gardens. The gardens of darkness, secrets that defy the sunlight. And may the statues remain still for your journey tonight. Blackthorn Manor Gardens stretches across acres of meticulously landscaped grounds. Yet beneath the elegance lies a sense of unease that visitors cannot ignore. Stone pathways wind through rows of ancient trees, their gnarled branches reaching skyward like skeletal hands. Shadows twist and deepen under the moonlight, giving life to the statues that line the gardens, silent observers of all who venture within. The statues are said to move when no one is watching. Angels with serene faces subtly shift positions, turning their gaze toward those who stray from the main path. Visitors report noticing small changes from one evening to the next, the slightest tilt of a head, the delicate placement of a hand. Some swear they have seen the marble hands reach outward, as though the stone itself desires to connect with the living. Whispers drift through the gardens, soft and haunting, carrying names that seem familiar yet distant. Those who wander too far from the main paths describe the sensation of being called, drawn deeper into the shadows, where the statue's silent presence feels more pressing, as if they're watching, waiting for anyone who dares to linger. The air is heavy with a mixture of earth, flowers, and an indefinable tension, as if the past lingers, watching, waiting for anyone who dares to linger. The layout of Blackthorn Manor Gardens contributes to its unsettling reputation, each framed by hedges that grow unnaturally tall and dense. Statues of cherubs, angels, and robed figures stand sentinel at every turn, their expressions serene yet oddly accusatory. The sense of being observed is immediate and persistent, growing stronger as dusk falls and the garden becomes bathed in the fading light. The garden becomes bathed in the fading light. Visitors often speak of fleeting glimpses in the corner of their vision. Shadows appear to slink between the trees, moving independently of the wind. Some report hearing soft footsteps behind them, never revealing their source. Others feel a sudden chill, a brush against the skin, that disappears the moment they turn, leaving only the eerie quiet and the constant weight of unseen eyes. The history of Blackthorn Manor Gardens is intertwined with the stories that haunt it. Constructed centuries ago, the manor was home to a family known for its devotion to horticulture and art. Legend suggests that the garden was designed not only as a display of beauty, but as a sanctuary for memories, each statue representing a spirit that could not find rest. Over time, the whispers and movements became a part of the garden, binding the living and the lost in a quiet, spectral tension. Night transforms the gardens entirely. The silver light of the moon casts long shadows, making the stone figures appear almost lifelike. Angles that seem benign in daylight now seem poised to move, their eyes following each visitora step. Some have reported seeing faint silhouettes drifting between the statues, fleeting glimpses that vanish when approached. The combination of sound, shadow, and subtle motion creates an atmosphere thick with anticipation and unease. Even during the day, the gardens carry a sense of expectation. The air is heavy, and the flowers and foliage seem to respond to the presence of those walking among them. Paths twist unpredictably, leading to hidden alcoves where the whispering grows more pronounced. Here, the statues stand closer together, their stone forms almost merging with the surrounding shadows, creating the feeling that the visitor is surrounded, observed from every angle. Photographers and paranormal enthusiasts often attempt to document the garden's anomalies. Cameras capture slight shifts in position, shadowy shapes that dissolve when approached, and subtle changes in the light and texture of the statues. Audio recordings sometimes reveal faint murmurs, voices calling names, or soft movements that cannot be attributed to wind or animals. Even those who do not believe in the supernatural find the garden's ambience disquieting, as if the air itself is alive with memories that refuse to remain silent. The atmosphere of Blackthorn Manor Gardens encourages reflection and caution. Visitors learn quickly to respect the paths and avoid wandering too far from the light. The sensation of being watched, combined with persistent whispers and shifting forms, heightens the awareness of every step, every sound, every glance. It is a place where the line between the living and the past blurs, a garden that preserves not only plants, but the echoes of lives that once walked its paths. Legends speak of those who linger too long. Some claim the garden compels them to return night after night, drawn by the soft calling of voices. Others report feeling a presence beside them as they navigate the winding paths. A presence beside them as they navigate the winding paths. A weightless brush that suggests a marble hand reaching out. The stories persist because the garden itself seems to insist upon them, ensuring that the mysteries of Blackthorn Manor are never forgotten. Blackthorn Manor Gardens is more than a scenic retreat. It is a living story, a space where the beauty of art and nature coexists with the subtle pulse of the unexplained. The statues, whispers, and shadows form a silent narrative, each element contributing to the sensation that visitors are part of something larger, something timeless. Those who walk the gardens may feel a thrill, a chill, or a moment of profound unease, knowing that they are not alone and that the history of this place continues to reach out through every stone and tree. Ravenscroft Estate rises from the mist like a monument to time and memory. Cypress trees surround the grounds, their twisted branches reaching skyward and casting long, shifting shadows. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, carrying whispers that ride the wind to the gardens and along the cobblestone paths. Visitors speak of the fog that rolls in from the surrounding hills, enveloping the estate in a soft, eerie haze. Within this shroud, the statues lining the gardens appear to shift when no one is watching. Marble hands seem to twitch, heads turn slightly, and figures that once seemed frozen in place now seem to wander, tracing invisible paths among the shrubs and fountains. The estate feels alive, not with the presence of the living, but with memories that refuse to rest. Local legends tell the original owner, a wealthy and reclusive figure, whose life ended in tragedy. It is said that the sorrow and anger that final night seeped into the very walls of the mansion. Some claim that those who tread the estate after dusk can feel the weight of unseen eyes following their movements. and hear faint sighs drifting from open windows where no wind stirs. Footsteps echo along the halls when the house is empty, and the faintest whisper of a voice carries just beyond the limits of comprehension. The gardens themselves seem to have absorbed the restless energy of the past. Statues of angels and classical figures are arranged with precision that suggests an unseen order. And yet, when the mist thickens, their silhouettes shift in ways that defy explanation. Shapes dart between the cypress trunks, moving just beyond the reach of lantern light. A path that seemed straight moments ago curves imperceptibly, guiding visitors toward areas they did not intend to explore. The estate seems to bend reality itself, drawing intruders deeper into its haunted embrace. Even the mansion appears to participate in this quiet unrest. Windows glow faintly when no lights are lit inside. Doors creak open, then close again without any visible cause. Some have claimed to see fleeting figures standing at the edges of the windows, watching silently, their forms half hidden behind drawn curtains. Shadows pool in corners of the halls where no natural darkness should exist, and the cold touch of an invisible presence brushes past the living without warning. Those who explore Ravenscroft Estate often describe sensations that are impossible to ignore. A sudden drop in temperature may freeze the skin, followed by the soft brush of a hand against the arm or shoulder. The whispers grow louder in the dead of night, carrying fragments of sentences, laughter, or cries that fade before meaning can be discerned. It is a place where the boundary between the present and the past blurs, and the line between imagination and reality becomes perilously thin. The estate has been left largely untouched for decades, giving it an air of abandonment that amplifies its mystery. Overgrown hedges and twisting vines reclaim the stone paths, and the once manicured lawns have become wild and tangled. Overgrown hedges and twisting vines reclaim the stone paths, and the once manicured lawns have become wild and tangled. Yet, this apparent decay only heightens the sense of purpose in the estate. Every element, from the leaning gates to the cracked fountains, seems deliberately designed to hold visitors in its spell, to make them aware that this is a place where memories and regrets persist long after life has moved on. Garden lights flicker without power, and reflections in dark pools of water appear to move independently. The cypress trees, with their elongated forms, sway as if in time a melody that no human ear can hear. Some visitors have reported glimpsing a figure at the top of the grand staircase inside the mansion, staring silently down at them, only to vanish when approached. The feeling of being observed never truly fades, and the estate leaves an indelible impression on anyone who enters its shadow grounds. Even the wildlife seems to respond to the estate's atmosphere. Birds avoid the area, and small animals are rarely seen after sundown. The sounds of nature are muted, replaced by the soft groan of timber settling, and the distant echo of steps along corridors that should be empty. The effect is subtle, yet undeniable, as though the living world itself acknowledges that Ravenscroft Estate is governed by forces beyond ordinary comprehension. Ravenscroft Estate stands as a testament to the persistence of memory, grief, and unfinished business. Its shadows are more than darkness, and its fog more than mist. Each visitor becomes a witness to the echoes of history, walking paths where the dead may still wander. The mansion and gardens hold their secrets closely, revealing only fragments of their story to those who dare enter. Every movement, every sound, and every fleeting silhouette adds to a narrative that has been unfolding for generations, a quiet, haunting chronicle that refuses to end. A quiet, haunting chronicle that refuses to end. For those who explore Ravenscroft Estate, the experience is unforgettable. It is a place where past and present intertwine, where shadows and whispers remind the living that some memories never die. The cypress trees, the wandering statues, and the mansion itself stand as guardians of this tale, inviting those who enter to witness the quiet persistence of spirits, the sorrow of a life cut short, and the mysteries that linger long after the fog has settled. Holloway House gardens stretch across the estate like a carefully curated maze. Yet by dusk, the familiar paths take on an air of uncertainty. The neatly trimmed hedges, sculpted into intricate shapes and patterns, seem to shift subtly in the fading light. Shadows lengthen and mingle with the soft glow of lanterns, creating corners where the ordinary becomes strange, and the ordinary rules of perception no longer apply. Visitors often report seeing the stone cherubs at the gardens, in positions different from where they were moments before. A statue that once faced the fountain may now appear along a walkway, tilting its gaze as if following those who pass by. The movement is subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but repeated sightings suggest something more than coincidence. The cherubs seem alive, their expressions alternating between innocence and mischief, drawing the observer into a silent, unspoken conversation. Soft laughter drifts through the gardens, carried by a breeze that feels colder than the evening air should allow. Some say it is the laughter of children long gone, a remnant of gatherings that once brought life to the estate. Others believe it is the work of the spirits that dwell among the statues, invisible residents of the gardens who delight in observation and subtle mischief. Footsteps are another common occurrence. Travelers walking alone report hearing the crunch of shoes on gravel behind them, only to find that the paths are empty when they turn. The sound may follow them for moments, sometimes fading, sometimes growing louder, as if the gardens themselves are guiding an unseen presence along the visitora-esque path. The effect is disorienting, and many choose to move more quickly, aware that the atmosphere of the gardens transforms with the fading light. The history of Holloway House Gardens contributes to its uncanny character. Originally designed in the early 1800s, the estate was home to generations of the Holloway family, whose fascination with art, sculpture, and horticulture is evident in every corner of the gardens. While the grounds were meant to be a place of beauty and leisure, stories of unexplained disappearances, mysterious sounds, and sightings of figures in the evening began to circulate over the decades. Some speculate that the gardens retain traces of past residents, moments captured in the stones and plants that continue to observe and interact with the living. The garden's layout enhances their mysterious quality. Pathways wind unpredictably. Hedges rise like walls. Hidden alcoves create spaces that invite exploration, yet conceal what may be watching. The soft rustle of leaves, the distant drip of water from fountains, and the occasional metallic glint of a statue combine to create a landscape that is both enchanting and unsettling. The senses are heightened, each sound and movement magnified, encouraging a careful attentiveness to the surroundings. Visitors describe a sensation of being observed even when no one is present. The statues of cherubs, angels, and mythical creatures seem to hold awareness, tilting heads or shifting postures in ways that defy the expectation of still stone. Some people attempt to photograph the statues, only to find the images altered upon review. Cherubs appear in locations they never occupied, expressions seem changed, and sometimes faint shapes of figures appear in the background, too subtle to identify clearly but impossible to ignore. The gardens themselves seem to respond to human emotion. Those who approach with curiosity may find the atmosphere lighter, the laughter soft and playful. Those who enter with fear or doubt often feel the air thicken. Footsteps grow heavier, and shadows lengthen unnaturally. Plants and statues create a choreography of observation and interaction, suggesting that Holloway House Gardens is not merely a static display of horticulture, but a living environment attuned to those who wander within it. Even in the quiet of night, the gardens retain a presence that is difficult to define. Lanterns glow along pathways, illuminating patches of grass and stone, while leaving others in shadow. Mist from a nearby fountain drifts across the lawns, refracting the light and creating fleeting, ghostly shapes that vanish when approached. Every elementa, the statues, the hedges, the sound of distant laughter works together to maintain a subtle tension, an atmosphere where curiosity and caution coexist. Some visitors return repeatedly, drawn by the allure of the unknown. They recount their experiences with the changing statues, the whispering sounds, and the feeling of unseen footsteps. Each story contributes to the layered legend of the gardens, reinforcing the perception that Holloway House is not simply a historical site, but a place where the boundary between the living and the unseen is permeable. Encounters vary from gentle amusement to eerie unease. Yet all share the common thread of an environment that observes and interacts in ways beyond ordinary understanding. Walking through Holloway House Gardens at night becomes an experience that blends beauty with suspense. The careful design of the pathways, the sculpted artistry of the statues, the natural sounds of the landscape combine with inexplicable occurrences to create a narrative of presence and observation. Every step is an immersion into a space where history, artistry, and the mysterious coexist, offering both the thrill of discovery and the subtle warning that the gardens are never truly empty. By the time visitors leave the gardens, the experience lingers. Faint laughter echoes in memory. Shadows and photographs hint at presences unseen, and the shifting cherubs remain etched in thought. Holloway House Garden stands as a testament to an environment that captivates and unsettles, where art, nature, and the spectacle converge to create an atmosphere that is timeless, enigmatic, and profoundly engaging. The gardens wait quietly for the next wanderer to enter, to notice, and perhaps to witness the delicate dance between the world of the living and the presence that observes them. Ashwood Mansion Gardens stretch across a vast estate, a maze of trimmed hedges, stone pathways, and towering marble statues. By day, the gardens appear serene, almost heavenly, yet those who linger past sunset speak of a subtle unease that settles in the air. The statues, carved with angelic faces and flowing robes, seem to shift ever so slightly, their eyes following each movement of intruders who dare wander too close. Visitors often recount a sudden chill that cuts through the warmth of the evening. Arms and shoulders feel the brush of icy fingers, fleeting yet unmistakable, leaving an impression long after the sensation fades. The gardens seem alive, responding to each step, each glance, as though unseen eyes observe and weigh the intentions of those who tread their paths. Marble fountains stand at the heart of the estate, sculpted with delicate cherubs and ornate basins. At night, the water appears to ripple without wind or touch, distorting reflections in ghostly patterns. The soft gurgle of fountains sometimes intensifies without explanation, echoing across the stone walkways, filling the gardens with sound that is both inviting and unsettling. The paths wind between rose gardens, topiary arches, and labyrinthine hedges. In the dim light of dusk, shadows stretch unnaturally, blending with the foliage. Some visitors report seeing fleeting forms dart among the hedges, never staying long enough to be identified. The combination of statues, fog, and flickering lanterns creates an atmosphere where reality seems to shift, and the ordinary rules of perception no longer apply. The air in Ashwood Mansion Gardens carries a weight of history. Once the site of grand gatherings and private soiree copyrightiers, the estate now hosts echoes of the past. Guests describe faint music drifting from hidden corners, melodies that vanish when approached. Occasionally, the scent of flowers that bloom only in memory seems to drift across pathways, sweet and heavy, enhancing the sense that the gardens are not entirely of the present. Angelic statues are central to the Estatia S. Eerie reputation. Observers notice them in positions that defy logic, heads tilted toward intruders in ways that should be impossible. Sometimes, multiple statues seem to coordinate their gaze, turning collectively to watch a single visitor. The effect is subtle but unnerving, as if the carvings possess an awareness beyond stone and marble. Along the outer edges of the gardens, ancient trees tower over the pathways, their gnarled branches forming natural archways. Fog collects in pockets beneath the trees, moving in wisps that seem almost purposeful. Sounds are amplified in these areas of footsteps echo, whispers of the wind resemble human speech, and the faint patter of water from fountains elsewhere seems unnaturally close. At the center of the gardens lies the grand reflecting pool. Still by day, it transforms at night. Surfaces shimmer with faint movements, as if something beneath the water stirs when no one is near. Observers sometimes see shadows flicker across the depths, forms that vanish when approached, leaving only ripples that contradict the absence of wind. The pool becomes a mirror not only of the garden, but of something intangible, a liminal space between the living and the unseen. Those who explore the gardens past twilight report sensations beyond sight and sound. A sense of being followed, observed, or subtly guided permeates the air. Occasionally, a soft brush of coldness trails along a path, prompting visitors to glance over their shoulders, finding nothing yet feeling unmistakably the presence of something nearby. The mansion's history, combined with these experiences, ensures the gardens retain an aura of mystery and unease that lingers long after guests depart. Even the smallest details carry weight. Stone benches appear freshly disturbed despite no footprints nearby. Petals from flowers sometimes scatter across paths without wind. The symmetry of the gardens, so precise and deliberate, contrasts with the irregularity of these phenomena, enhancing the sense that the estate is alive with memories and watchful presences. Ashwood Mansion Gardens offer an immersive experience where beauty and the uncanny intertwine. The statues, fountains, and pathways create an environment that is both inviting and unsettling. Each element of stone, water, flora, and shadow works together to craft a space where the boundary between the ordinary and the supernatural blurs. Guests leave with memories of fleeting glances, unexplained chills, and a lingering impression that the gardens hold secrets not meant to be fully understood. In the end, Ashwood Mansion Gardens are more than manicured hedges and ornate sculptures. They are a living tableau of memory and mystery, a place where time seems to ripple along with the fountains, and where stone angels watch over the living as they wander. Every step taken within the gardens is a brush with the past, a moment suspended in an atmosphere that is beautiful, eerie, and unforgettable. Moonshadow Estate rises quietly atop a hill, its silhouette framed by swaying oaks and the pale glow of the moon. The grounds are expansive, with winding paths lined by statues of every conceivable figure, their stone faces carved with expressions of solemnity and grace. By day, the estate appears serene, almost inviting, but as twilight falls, the atmosphere shifts, heavy with anticipation and subtle unease. Visitors often speak of shadows moving in ways that defy explanation. Between the statues, forms seem to flit, gliding over manicured lawns and along the curved paths. They appear at the periphery of vision, vanishing the instant they are directly observed. The subtle motion gives the impression that the estate itself breathes, alive with secrets hidden among the marble and ivy. The statues themselves seem to possess a life of their own. Some appear to kneel, heads bowed in silent supplication. Others seem to turn, subtly shifting their gaze towards certain visitors. The effect is disorienting, a sensation of being watched and acknowledged simultaneously. Each step deeper into the estate heightens the awareness that the boundaries between the living and the silent guardians of the grounds are porous and delicate. Whispers permeate the night air, faint but persistent. They tell fragmented stories, fragments of lives long past, of heirs who vanished under mysterious circumstances, and romances that were never permitted to blossom. The soft murmur of these tales creates a haunting soundtrack to the shadows that flit among the statues. Those who linger often report feeling pulled toward particular corners of the estate, compelled by the weight of memories embedded in stone. The architecture of Moonshadow Estate enhances its enigmatic nature. Gothic arches and high, narrow windows punctuate the main building, while ivy climbs its walls like tendrils reaching for the sky. The moon casts long, distorted shadows across the grounds, exaggerating the statuesque forms and lending the estate an air of foreboding elegance. Pathways twist unpredictably, leading to secluded courtyards where the whispers are loudest, and the feeling of presence is most palpable. Visitors recount the sensation of footsteps echoing alongside their own, though no other human figure is visible. Some speak of cool breezes brushing against their skin, carrying the faint scent of roses and something older, more elusive. The experience is unsettling, yet it is not overtly threatening. It is the weight of history and longing that makes Moonshadow Estate so compelling and so unnerving. The stories associated with the estate are deeply entwined with the lives of its former residents. Tales of forbidden love and tragic endings permeate every aspect of the grounds. It is said that the statues were commissioned to commemorate these lives, each figure capturing a moment of sorrow, devotion, or longing. Over the centuries, these statues have become vessels for the echoes of the past, and visitors are drawn unwittingly into the silent narratives they hold. Even in the quiet of night, the estate seems to move subtly, the rustle of leaves and the distant creak of gates amplifying the sense of living history. The shadows shift with a rhythm all their own, and the whispers tell a time when the estate was filled with laughter and music, only to fall silent when tragedy struck. There is a beauty in the melancholy, a haunting grace that draws the curious and the brave alike. Those who explore the estate report moments of disorientation, a sense that the paths are not entirely fixed, as if the grounds themselves reshape in response to movement. Statues that appeared in one place seem slightly altered upon return, their posture or orientation subtly different. The effect is cumulative, heightening tension and curiosity, leaving an indelible impression that the estate holds a will of its own. The Moonshadow Estate is not merely a location, but a living chronicle, a space where the past persists and interacts with the present. Visitors often feel an intimate connection with the lives and stories of those who once inhabited the grounds. The combination of shadow, whisper, and stone creates an atmosphere thick with anticipation, compelling each visitor to walk with care, yet encouraging them to linger, drawn by the unspoken narratives that the estate guards so carefully. As night deepens, the whispers grow slightly louder, the shadows more defined, yet the estate never feels overtly hostile. It is a place of observation and reflection, where each visitor becomes a participant in a silent drama spanning generations. The interplay of light, shadow, and sound fosters a continuous sense of engagement, ensuring that those who visit Moonshadow Estate leave with a lasting impression of mystery and fascination. Moonshadow Estate is a testament to the enduring power of memory, artistry, and human emotion. It is a place where whispers and shadows converge, where statues seem to think, move, and respond, and where visitors become acutely aware of the lives that once walked the same paths. To enter the estate is to step into a realm where the past and present intermingle, a realm where beauty, melancholy, and subtle terror coexist, leaving an indelible mark on all who wander beneath the moonlight. Silver Pine Manor rises from the fog like a relic from another world. Its walls are tall and cold, draped in ivy that twists like serpents around stone. The gardens surrounding the estate are carefully tended, yet there's an unnatural perfection to them, a silence that seems to hum beneath the roses. After midnight, the petals appear to glow softly, bathing the paths in a light that is at once beautiful and unsettling. Visitors walking the estate describe a sensation of being watched. Marble figures of animals, frozen in lifelike poses by day, seem to move when the moon casts shadows across the grounds. A stag might be seen stalking the edge of a rose bed, or a fox crouching low, eyes glinting in ethereal light. These figures vanish if approached too closely, leaving only the cold stone and the faint impression that something just moved out of sight. The paths of Silver Pine Manor hold their own secrets. Stones shift beneath careful footsteps, and labyrinthine walks curve unexpectedly, drawing visitors deeper into hidden corners of the estate. Gardens that seemed familiar moments ago become unfamiliar, and narrow corridors of hedges open into secluded courtyards where the air feels heavier, charged with a quiet energy. It is as though the estate itself is alive, guiding those who wander into experiences they did not anticipate. The mansion looms over the gardens, a dark silhouette against the night sky. Windows flicker with a light that does not come from within, revealing shadows that move with intent. Inside, the halls are long and echoing, filled with the soft sound of doors opening and closing without reason. A faint scent of roses lingers in the corridors, mingling with the cool, musty air of stone and timber. Visitors have reported seeing fleeting forms at the edges of staircases, moving just beyond the reach of vision, only to vanish when attention is fully given. Even the gardens themselves seem to respond to the presence of the living. Statues appear in places where they were not moments before, and the soft rustle of leaves can suggest unseen creatures moving between the paths. At times, the roses shift, petals brushing against clothing, as if urging travelers toward a specific direction. Every corner holds the possibility of discovery, yet also carries the risk of encountering something that defies explanation. Those who walk the estate late into the night speak of the feeling of being pursued. The marble animals, though unthreatening in appearance, inspire a sense of urgency in those who notice them. Shadows stretch and twist, and the gentle moonlight becomes a guide for senses heightened by unease. The estate challenges perception, and the longer one lingers, the more the boundary between reality and imagination begins to blur. Silver Pine Manor is not simply a place of beauty. Its history is steeped in stories of tragedy and obsession, of lives entwined with the estate in ways that continue beyond death. Visitors sense the weight of these memories in the quiet corners of the gardens and the stillness of the halls. The night air holds a palpable energy, shifting with the movements of unseen observers. The soft glow of the roses casts elongated shadows, making familiar shapes appear strange and new. Pathways twist and open unexpectedly, leading to alcoves and hidden fountains, and each discovery carries with it a sense of both wonder and apprehension. The estate seems to communicate in subtle ways, drawing attention to details that might otherwise go unnoticed, and suggesting that there is more to see than what meets the eye. Even the soundscape of Silver Pine Manor adds to its eerie elegance. The rustle of leaves is occasionally punctuated by a distant clatter of marble, or the soft tapping of footsteps along stone paths. Water trickles from hidden fountains, yet the sound seems amplified, resonating to the gardens like a reminder of unseen presence. Night birds avoid the estate entirely, leaving silence that is never truly silent, punctuated instead by the subtle whispers of shadows. Those who venture to Silver Pine Manor often leave with a sense of awe tinged with unease. The estate is a place where natural beauty is intertwined with the supernatural, where the line between the living and the eternal is blurred. Every visitor carries away an impression of its mysteries, a knowledge that the estate holds secrets that will not be revealed easily, and that every path walked may have been designed with a purpose beyond comprehension. Silver Pine Manor endures as a realm of quiet tension and haunting elegance. Its gardens and halls are filled with forms that challenge the perception of reality, guiding travelers through experiences that linger long after departure. Shadows, lights, and the movements of marble figures combine to create a world where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the estate itself watches, waits, and preserves the stories of those who come too close to its hidden truths. In the stillness of night, Silver Pine Manor reveals itself in glimpses, in movement to the edge of vision, in the glow of roses that should not shine. It is a place that invites curiosity while commanding respect, a sanctuary of mystery with a past and present intertwined, and where every visitor becomes a part of a continuing story written in stone, shadow, and the quiet pulse in the estate that refuses to sleep. Thornfield Garden stretches across the estate in intricate patterns, a masterpiece of horticulture and artistry. By day, the hedges are admired for their precision and beauty, forming labyrinths that challenge even the most attentive visitors. By night, however, the gardens take on a different character, one that has drawn whispers of unease and fascination from locals and travelers alike. Those who explore the pathways after dusk often report that the hedges seem to shift subtly overnight. A pathway that led to a fountain during the afternoon may lead elsewhere come evening, turning familiar routes into confusing mazes, a labyrinthine puzzle for the unwary traveler. The subtle changes are almost imperceptible at first, but repeated visitors note that the garden itself seems alive, rearranging its boundaries as if responding to the presence of those who walk among its greenery. Figures carved from stone populate the gardens, depicting angels, mythical creatures, and contemplative faces. By day, they are admired as artistry frozen in time. By night, they take on a more unsettling quality. Observers report a sensation of being watched, as if the statues track their movements across the winding paths. Some claim that the statues seem to subtly adjust their posture or gaze, tilting their heads or following with an unseen awareness. The effect is disorienting, turning what should be a serene stroll into an experience of tense observation. Whispers circulate among locals about the garden's history. Thornfield Gardens was tended for generations by a devoted gardener. Legend says that upon his death, he was buried in secret beneath the central fountain. Visitors have reported an odd stillness near the fountain at night, a sense of presence that cannot be explained. Some speak of shadows flickering just beneath the water, as if the gardener's spirit watches over the gardens, ensuring that they remain both beautiful and mysterious. The atmosphere of Thornfield Gardens at night is enhanced by the layout itself. Paths wind unpredictably, bordered by towering hedges that obscure sight lines and create pockets of darkness. Lanterns to main avenues, casting pools of light that illuminate only portions of the garden, leaving the rest to shadow and imagination. The interplay of light and darkness makes every step uncertain, encouraging a heightened awareness of surroundings and an acute sensitivity to every sound. Footsteps echo strangely within the gardens, sometimes belonging to no one visible. Travelers report hearing the soft rustle of leaves, and distant footsteps that mimic their own pace. In some instances, these sounds seem to follow them around corners and through archways, vanishing when confronted directly. The combination of shifting pathways, attentive statues, and unexplained sounds creates an environment that is both enchanting and subtly unsettling, where curiosity is constantly tempered by caution. Visitors have also noted changes in the Gardenia flora. Flowers may appear more vibrant in certain areas, while in others, plants seem to droop or twist as though influenced by unseen forces. Hedges that were neatly trimmed in the morning may look slightly altered by evening, creating an impression of movement or intervention. These subtle modifications contribute to the impression that the gardens are not merely a passive environment, but a living, reactive space, attentive to the presence and actions of those who enter. The central fountain serves as a focal point of beauty and legend. Water trickles continuously, reflecting lantern light in shimmering patterns that dance across the surrounding stone. The fountain's surface sometimes appears disturbed, as if something lies beneath just out of sight. Observers have described fleeting ripples and shadowed shapes that vanish when approached, reinforcing tales of the Gardenia South's secret resting place and his lingering vigilance over the estate. The combination of artistry, history, and legend ensures that Thornfield Gardens remains a place of intrigue. Visitors experience a blend of awe and apprehension, walking pathways designed for beauty, yet subtly infused with mystery. The statues, hedges, and fountains work in concert to create an environment where perception is heightened and the ordinary rules of observation no longer fully apply. Every corner holds a potential for subtle surprises, and each pathway invites both exploration and careful attention. Even the air in Thornfield Gardens contributes to its atmosphere. A faint breeze carries the scent of flowers and damp earth, sometimes accompanied by the rustle of leaves or the distant creak of old wood. The night amplifies these details, creating an immersive experience where the senses are engaged fully. Sounds, shadows, and scents converge to form a layered tapestry that captures imagination while keeping the observer aware that the garden is more than a collection of plants and stone. For those who venture repeatedly, the gardens become a narrative in motion. Pathways reveal new alignments. Statues appear to observe with fresh intensity, and the fountain continues to hold its mysteries beneath flowing water. Each visit reinforces the impression that Thornfield Gardens is alive, in a way beyond mere horticultural skill, a place where history, artistry, and legend intertwine to create an enduring sense of presence. By the time visitors depart, the experiences linger. The subtle movements of hedges, the shifting gazes of statues, and the quiet hum of the fountain leave impressions that endure long after leaving the grounds. Thornfield Garden stands as a testament to the power of landscape and narrative to merge, crafting a space where beauty, mystery, and the unseen coexist. The estate waits patiently for the next wanderer, ready to reveal its enigmas to those willing to explore, and attentive enough to notice the quiet, watchful presence that dwells within. By day, It appears stately, a testament to centuries of architecture and history. But by night, a subtle unease settles over the estate. Visitors often remark that the air carries a weight, as if memories long past cling to the walls and grounds, lingering quietly just beyond perception. The gardens surrounding the hall are filled with statues of historical figures, carved in intricate detail. Some guests notice a statue seems subtly repositioned from the previous day, shifted in ways that defy logic. A figure that once faced the entrance may now gaze toward the side garden. A statue seated in repose may appear to have adjusted its posture ever so slightly. The changes are never dramatic, yet they leave a distinct impression, prompting the question of whether unseen hands have been at work. Lanterns line the walkways, their flames flickering as though stirred by an invisible breath. Some visitors claim that as they approach, the candles dance more vigorously, shadows stretching unnaturally across the stone paths. The soft illumination casts eerie patterns on the walls of the hall and along the garden hedges, creating an atmosphere where movement and stillness coexist in a delicate tension. Distant sobs are sometimes carried on the wind, faint and almost imperceptible, yet unmistakable to those who pause and listen. The sound drifts from the hall, weaving between trees and across open lawns, creating the sensation that the estate itself is mourning events long forgotten. Some interpret these sounds as echoes of grief from past residents, others as the manifestation of lingering spirits bound to property. The hall's interior mirrors the subtle strangeness of its exterior. Dark wood panels and high ceiling provide an air grandeur, yet there's a sense that the rooms retain the energy of those who once walked their halls. Footsteps are reported when no one is present, and doors may creak open or close without cause. The faint scent of candle wax and old timber fills the air, enhancing the sense that the building itself is a vessel of memory and presence. Visitors often describe an invisible awareness within the hall, as if every corridor and chamber is observing them. Small details stand out: a chair slightly turned, a book misplaced, the faint shimmer of dust motes catching the lantern light in a way that seems deliberate. These subtle anomalies contribute to the overall sensation that Blackwater Hall is not simply abandoned or static, but alive in its own quiet, enigmatic way. The gardens deepen the mystery with their overgrown hedges, stone benches, and intricate fountains. At twilight, the fading light casts long shadows that seem to move independently of their sources. Flowers, though still in bloom, sometimes appear to lean toward unseen visitors or to recoil from their presence. The natural and unnatural blend seamlessly, creating a setting where the ordinary rules of perception no longer fully apply. The hall has a history of gatherings, of families and guests who once animated its rooms with laughter, conversation, and ceremony. Over the decades, those echoes have lingered, merging with the structure itself. Some believe that the shifting statues and flickering lights are a manifestation of this residual energy, a subtle form of communication from the past. Others feel the presence of sentient observers, spirits that watch and respond to the living with quiet intensity. At night, Blackwater Hall transforms. The surrounding landscape becomes shadowed and indistinct, the wind carrying whispers and faint sounds that defy explanation. Lanterns flicker as though in greeting or warning, and statues seem to observe with a consciousness that is unsettlingly human. Each step along the walkways becomes a measured act, a careful engagement with a space that is both familiar in form and profoundly mysterious in essence. Even the smallest elements are imbued with significance. The rustle of leaves, the subtle tilt of the statue's head, the gentle ripple of a fountain, all contribute to a feeling that the estate is aware, responsive, and perhaps even sentient. Visitors leave with a heightened sense of perception, noticing details they may not have seen before, and feeling the presence of forces that are imperceptible yet undeniably real. Blackwater Hall is more than architecture and history. It is an experience, a convergence of memory, atmosphere, and the unseen. Its statues, gardens, and corridors form a living tableau, where the ordinary intersects with the extraordinary. The estate invites exploration, contemplation, and reflection, yet it also demands respect for the unseen. Each visitor carries with them impressions of subtle movement, ghostly presence, and an enduring sense of mystery that persists long after they depart. In the end, Blackwater Hall is a place where time and memory intertwine, where the living brush against the echoes of the past. Shadows move quietly, candles respond to invisible currents, and the air is thick with the weight of history. It is a space that challenges perception, invites curiosity, and leaves an indelible mark on all who walk its paths, offering an unforgettable journey into the quiet, haunting beauty of the unknown. Graymore Estate stands at the edge of a rolling hillside, its silhouette imposing against the fading light of dusk. The mansion is surrounded by gardens of manicured hedges and winding stone paths that stretch farther than one would expect. Marble lions guard the estate at every corner, their eyes seeming to follow every movement with an uncanny attentiveness. By day, the grounds are elegant and stately, yet as evening approaches, the estate exudes an unmistakable tension, a feeling that the gardens themselves are alive and aware. Visitors often speak of the marble lions shifting ever so slightly when no one is observing. Some claim the statues grow larger when attention drifts, returning to their original size only when under scrutiny. The effect is subtle at first, a trick of the mind perhaps, but repeated experiences make it impossible to dismiss entirely. The Leonce's stony gaze seems to carry memory, as if the guardians of Graymore Estate are silently measuring the intentions of all who pass through. The paths of the gardens are equally deceptive. Walkways that seem straightforward in daylight appear to extend endlessly under the cloak of night. A short stroll to a fountain can transform into a labyrinthine journey, leaving guests disoriented, yet strangely compelled to continue. The hedges cast elongated shadows that sway with the wind, taking shapes that seem almost human, or perhaps something less easily defined. Whispers of wind threading through the leaves create a soundtrack that makes it difficult to distinguish between natural sounds and something deliberately sentient. Some visitors have reported disappearing temporarily while wandering the estate. They vanish from sight, only to reappear hours later, often with no recollection of the time lost. Eyes wide and voices trembling, these guests speak of moments spent in corridors or glades that should not have existed. Their experiences leave an indelible mark, a sense that Graymore Estate operates according to rules beyond human understanding, where time bends and the familiar becomes strange. The mansion itself looms over grounds, its architecture steeped in history and opulence. Gothic spires rise toward the sky, while ivy clings stubbornly to stone walls. Windows reflect the setting sun, giving the impression of watching eyes, observing each visitor as they navigate this estate. Interior rooms, though seldom explored by outsiders, are said to be equally confounding. Hallways appear longer at night, doors lead to unexpected spaces, and the atmosphere within seems imbued with lingering memories of generations past. Even the air carries a peculiar weight. A subtle chill descends in certain areas of the estate, brushing the skin like a whispered warning. The estate seems to play with perception itself, a silent orchestrator of tension and curiosity that keeps visitors alert and unnerved. The legends surrounding Graymore Estate add to its mystique. Tales of mysterious disappearances, unexplained movements of statues, and distorted perception of time have circulated among locals for decades. Each story contributes to a layered narrative, blending history and folklore, enhancing the sense that the estate exists on the edge of the known world. Guests cannot help but feel that the estate remembers them, cataloging their movements with a patience that spans centuries. Gardens at night take on a different personality altogether. The rustle of leaves may be nothing more than wind. Even those who have visited during the day and found tranquility report a distinct change after sunset. The estate exudes a quiet vigilance, a presence that waits for the unobservant. The marble lions remain a focal point of both admiration and unease. Their silent vigilance seems to anchor the estate's supernatural tendencies. Visitors feel drawn to them, compelled to study their forms and the subtle changes in posture or size. Each shift creates a tension that grows with time spent on the grounds. The sense of being watched is omnipresent, as if the lions themselves are agents of the estate, ensuring that all who wander its paths are acknowledged and recorded. Graymoor Estate is a living, breathing entity of stone, garden, and shadow. The interplay between the tangible and the uncanny creates a continuous sense of curiosity and apprehension. It challenges the perceptions of those who enter, bending space and time, and leaving a lingering impression long after they depart. Every step, every glance, every whisper wind contributes to the tapestry of experience that defines this extraordinary estate. To walk through Graymoor Estate is to become a participant in a silent narrative woven over generations, carrying a sense of having glimpsed a place where the line between the familiar and the mysterious is perpetually shifting. Winterbourne Manor rises from the frost-covered ground, its stone walls etched with the weight of centuries. The air around the estate carries a chill that settles deep into the bones, and the silence of the grounds is broken only by the soft rustle of wind through the tall trees. The hedge maze sprawls across the northern gardens, a labyrinth of dark green walls that twist and turn beyond what seems possible. By day, it is a beautiful curiosity, its paths lined with snow-laden hedges and frost-tipped flowers. But after dusk, the maze becomes restless. Visitors report shadows moving along the paths, darting just out of sight, and the sensation that unseen eyes follow each step. Some have described feeling a presence that guides or misguides, leading them deeper into the maze until familiar becomes unfamiliar. Statues of nymphs are scattered among the gardens, carved from marble so lifelike that in dim light they almost breathe. As night falls, these figures seem to shift subtly, their heads turning or their eyes catching glimmers of moonlight. Guests have reported hearing soft whispers in languages that are unrecognizable, words that echo faintly across the garden paths before disappearing into the wind. The voices seem to come from the statues themselves, though when approached, they remain silent and still, leaving only the lingering sensation that the garden is speaking in a language lost to time. The trees surrounding the maze and gardens form narrow corridors, creating pockets of darkness where fleeting forms are sometimes glimpsed between trunks. Some visitors have seen figures draped in mist, moving swiftly between branches and vanishing as quickly as they appear. The air grows colder near these areas, and the sense of being followed intensifies. Even the soft crunch of footsteps on frost seems amplified, resonating to the otherwise quiet estate, as if the land itself acknowledges the presence of those who dare to walk its paths after nightfall. The manor itself looms over the gardens, windows darkened except for occasional flickers of light that seem to move within. The stone walls carry the weight of history, and every creak of timber or groan of the roof echoes like a whisper from the past. Visitors entering the halls have reported subtle movements at the corners of their vision, fleeting glimpses of figures that vanish when confronted. The atmosphere is heavy yet captivating, drawing explorers deeper into the manor, where each corridor and staircase feels like a passage into another world. The gardens surrounding Winterbourne Manor are alive in their own way. Frozen fountains glimmer under the moon, and icy ponds reflect shapes that are not immediately recognizable. Pathways that seem clear during the day may shift subtly at night, guiding wanderers toward hidden alcoves or secluded benches. The sense of being observed is constant, and those who pause often feel a presence close by, as though the estate itself breathes around them. Visitors describe a sensation of time stretching in the night gardens. Minutes can feel like hours as shadows stretch and contract across the frost. Sounds from distant corners of the estate can seem impossibly near. The whispers of nymphs grow more distinct, circling around the ears of those brave enough to linger. The maze becomes both a challenge and a warning, a place where curiosity is met with the reality that Winterbourne Manor does not yield its secrets easily. The Menorah-esque history seeps into every corner. Stories of its original occupants, of lives lost and mysteries left unresolved, seem to linger in the air. Each statue, hedge, and tree carries the weight of these histories, and visitors sense that they are walking among echoes. The estate demands respect, and those who ignore the subtle warnings of shifting paths or the whispers among statues may find themselves led deeper into the mysteries of the grounds. Even the night sky above Winterbourne Manor contributes to its eerie elegance. Stars are dimmed by a thin veil of mist, and moonlight glances off frost in ways that create illusions of movement. Shadows lengthen unnaturally, and corners of the gardens appear to shift just beyond peripheral vision. Every step is accompanied by the feeling of anticipation, as though the estate itself is alive, testing the resolve and curiosity of its guests. By the time dawn approaches, the estate seems to exhale, and the garden paths settle into the stillness of morning. Those who have spent the night wandering Winterbourne Manor carry the impressions of unseen observers, whispered words, and fleeting figures between trees. The maze and gardens return to their quiet daytime beauty, yet the memories of the night linger, subtle but undeniable, a reminder that the manor's mysteries are eternal. Winterbourne Manor endures as a place where nature, history, and the supernatural intertwine. Its maze, statues, and gardens are alive with a sense of something watching, guiding, and sometimes warning. Every path walked, every shadow glimpsed, becomes part of the continuing story of the estate, a narrative that unfolds with each visitor who dares to explore it after dark. The experience is immersive, haunting, and unforgettable, leaving a lasting impression of an estate that exists both in the present and in the echoes of the past. In the stillness of night, Winterbourne Manor calls to those who wander its paths, offering beauty and mystery, wonder and unease. It is a place where shadows move, whispers speak, and the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Every step through the estate reminds visitors that the night belongs not only to them, but to the enduring spirit of the manor itself. Hollow Ridge Garden sprawls across the estate in carefully sculpted patterns, a place of elegance and artistry by day. Visitors stroll along the stone paths, admiring the carefully trimmed hedges and the rows of statues that populate the grounds. At first glance, the gardens appear serene and orderly, a testament to human skill and aesthetic vision. As the sun dips below the horizon, however, Hollow Ridge Gardens reveals a different nature. The statues, carved to depict warriors, angels, and mythic figures, seem to shift in subtle ways. A warrior holding a spear may appear to lean slightly forward, or a guardian figure may tilt its head as though observing the movements of those who wander among the pathways. The changes are almost imperceptible at first, but repeated visitors insist they feel watched, as if unseen eyes follow every step. Wind sweeps through the gardens, carrying with it faint, unintelligible cries. The sound seems to circle endlessly, drifting from one hedge-lined path to another, echoing off stone fountains and the faces of statues. Some describe it as whispers for help, cries from a distant past that remain trapped within the gardens, never finding release. The effect is subtle yet unsettling, a sound that hints at presence and memory, as though the air itself holds the essence of those who once walked these grounds. The pathways of Hollow Ridge Gardens wind unpredictably, bordered by towering hedges that obscure sight lines and create pockets of darkness. Lanterns illuminate select areas, casting pools of warm light that fade into shadow. Each step becomes a cautious journey, as the boundaries of visibility shift and the familiar turns unfamiliar. Observers report the sensation of movement just beyond the corner of their vision, shapes that vanish when confronted, reinforcing the sense that the gardens are more than a collection of plants and stone. Figures carved in stone populate the grounds in strategic locations. Each place to guard a particular path or vantage point. By day, they are admired as artistry frozen in time. By night, they evoke unease, appearing poised to act. Visitors have described statues that seem ready to strike. Their stances subtly alter from earlier observations. The effect is disorienting, turning the familiar into a space where every movement is watched and measured. Hollow Ridge Gardens is also rich in sound. The wind brings rustling leaves and the soft trickle of fountains. But beneath these natural noises lie softer, haunting sounds. The faint cries, whispers, and occasional clatter of stone against stone suggest activity that cannot be explained. Some visitors have reported hearing footsteps approaching along deserted paths, only for them to vanish when investigated. The combination of auditory and visual cues creates a fully immersive environment where perception is heightened and the line between reality and suggestion blurs. The central fountain serves as a focal point, its water reflecting lantern light in patterns that seem to dance with life. Around it, statues and hedges converge, creating a space that feels simultaneously protective and oppressive. Observers note that the figures near the fountain often appear more active, their postures shifting ever so slightly, as if keeping watch over intruders. The sound of water mingles with distant haunting cries, creating an atmosphere that is both beautiful and unsettling. Visitors have also noted subtle changes in the flora. Flowers may bloom out of season, or leaves may curl in ways that seem unnatural. Hedges appear to shift overnight, redirecting pathways or closing off previously open routes. These changes are not dramatic, but they contribute to the impression that Hollow Ridge Gardens is alive in a way that defies explanation, aware of every movement, and responsive to those who traverse its grounds. Even the night sky plays a role in the Gardensa atmosphere. Moonlight casts shifting shadows, highlighting some statues while plunging others into darkness. Stars reflect in the fountain and glint off stone surfaces, creating fleeting patterns that move with the observer's perspective. This interplay of light, shadow, and reflection heightens a sense of presence and awareness within the gardens, enhancing the feeling that every corner may conceal unseen watchers. It is a narrative woven from stone, water, plants, and history. The subtle movements, haunting sounds, and shifting landscapes create an environment where curiosity is tempered by caution and where the ordinary rules of observation no longer fully apply. By the time visitors depart, the impressions linger. The shifting stances of statues, the circling cries, and the subtle changes in the gardens remain in memory, leaving a sense of presence that endures long after leaving the estate. Hollow Ridge Gardens continues to watch, patient and eternal, a place where artistry and mystery converge, and where those who wander are subtly reminded that they are never truly alone. Darkwood Estate stands shrouded in centuries of shadow, a grand property that has witnessed generations of history. Its stone walls rise proudly above manicured lawns and winding garden paths, yet there's a stillness here that is different from any ordinary estate. Time seems to slow, and even on bright days, a subtle sense of presence lingers in the air, hinting at secrets that refuse to fade. The gardens are a study in both beauty and unease. Marble fountains, though dry for years, sometimes ripple as though water flows within them. Observers have described the gentle play of waves without a source, as if unseen hands stir the stone surfaces. The sound of splashing is faint yet persistent, echoing in the quiet corners of the gardens, leaving visitors with a sense of wonder tinged with apprehension. Statues of the estate's historical owners are placed throughout the grounds. Carved with exquisite detail, each figure exudes a lifelike presence. Guests often feel the sensation of being watched, as though eyes follow their movements from every angle. The tilt of a head, the positioning of hands, or the subtle stance of a figure can feel unervingly deliberate, as if the statues themselves are guardians of the property, silently observing any who venture too close. Some pathways in the gardens carry a particular chill. Those who wander too late in the day sometimes report cold hands grazing their shoulders, fleeting touches that vanish as quickly as they appear. Locals have come to regard these paths with caution, understanding that the estate holds more than just the echo of history. It holds a presence that engages directly with those who walk its grounds. The interior of Darkwood Estate mirrors the subtle strangeness of its exterior. High ceilings, polished floors, and sweeping staircases convey wealth and sophistication. Yet there is a feeling that the building itself retains a memory of all who have walked its halls. Faint footsteps may follow, doors may creak open with no breeze, and the faint scent of candle wax and aged timber seems to mark the passage of those long gone. Light filters through tall windows, casting intricate patterns on the floors and walls. Shadows move strangely in these spaces, sometimes stretching unnaturally, other times clinging closely to corners and doorways. Visitors have described the sensation of being watched even when no one else is present, a quiet awareness that seems to hum in the very air of the estate. The gardens deepen the sense of the uncanny. Hedges twist and arch into shapes that create hidden alcoves, while overgrown paths seem to shift subtly, making the familiar appear unfamiliar. Marble benches, ornate planters, and stone urns line the walkways, each seemingly positioned with intention. During twilight, the changing light casts long shadows that appear to move independently, blurring the line between what is real and what is imagined. Even the smallest details of the estate carry a weight. Leaves may rustle though the air is still. Fountains ripple without wind, and the faint clatter of distant footsteps sometimes accompanies visitors along the garden paths. It is as if the estate itself is alive, a living collection of memory and presence, responding to those who enter with subtle gestures and signs. The history of Darkwood Estate is layered with tales of family legacy, wealth, and tragedy. Generations of residents have walked these halls, each leaving traces of their existence. Over time, these traces appear to have merged with the physical space, giving rise to phenomena that defy explanation. Those who visit are invited into an experience that goes beyond observation. They become part of the Estatea's ongoing story, a silent dialogue between past and present. At night, the estate transforms entirely. Shadows deepen, wind rustles through trees, and the gardens seem to take on a life of their own. Statues appear more alert, fountains ripple more noticeably, and the faint sensation of being followed intensifies. The interplay of light and dark, presence and absence, creates an atmosphere where ordinary perception is challenged, and the mysterious becomes palpable. Darkwood Estate is more than architecture and history. It is a space where memory, presence, and perception intersect. Its gardens, fountains, and corridors form a subtle yet powerful narrative, engaging visitors in ways that are both enchanting and unsettling. Every step, every glance, and every breath is a reminder that this is a place where the past never truly rests, and the present is always under watchful eyes. Visitors leave with a sense of awe and unease, carrying impressions of delicate movements, ghostly presences, and fleeting touches that defy explanation. The mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory. The enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure. A testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory. The enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure. A testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory. The enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure. A testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory. The enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure. A testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory. The enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure, a testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, through a space alive with memory, the enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure, a testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, through a space alive with memory, the enduring power of history, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory, long after departure, a testament to the enduring power of history, the mysteries of the unseen, and the quiet, haunting beauty that can be found when one treads carefully through a space alive with memory. Here, in the secluded estate, the living and the echoes of the past coexist, intertwining in a dance of shadow, light, and sensation. Darkwood Estate offers a journey into a world where beauty and the uncanny merge, leaving every visitor with a story written not only in memory, but in the very air that envelopes them. Nightshade Manor rises in the midst of the edge of forest, its silhouette dark and imposing against the fading light of dusk. Marble pillars line the front FAA sectionade, their smooth surfaces glinting faintly under the last rays of the sun. By day, the estate is a vision of grandeur, with ornate fountains and manicured gardens. Yet as darkness approaches, the air shifts, carrying a quiet tension that settles over the grounds like a shroud. Visitors often speak of shadows slipping between the marble pillars, moving with a fluidity that seems almost sentient. Shapes appear and vanish in the corners of vision, leaving only the sensation of something watching, moving, and waiting. Even the fountains seem to participate in the menorah-esque silent orchestration. Water reflects not the images of the gardens or visitors, but shapes and movements that have no source. Fleeting glimpses of forms that dissolve before understanding can take hold. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere is equally unsettling. Long corridors stretch into darkness, and high ceilings echo with imagined sounds. Guests have reported hearing doors slam with force, though no one is present, and footsteps resonate along hallways where only emptiness exists. Each sound carries with it a weight, a sense that the manor is alive and aware of each visitor, marking their presence and perhaps evaluating their intentions. The gardens around Nightshade Manor play tricks on perception. Paths that seem clear in daylight twist and lengthen at night. Statues shift subtly when unobserved, eyes appearing to follow travelers, creating an unease that grows with every step. The air carries faint scents of blooms mixed with something older, something earthy that reminds visitors of the estate's history and the lives that have passed through its halls. Evenings bring a palpable stillness, punctuated by soft, unidentifiable noises. A breeze through the trees carries whispers, yet no source can be determined. Some claim the wind itself guides the shadows, bending them into forms that suggest movement, intent, and even purpose. The fountains, reflecting distorted images, seem to serve as portals, windows into moments that may have occurred or could occur, blurring the line between memory and imagination. The marble pillars themselves hold an uncanny presence. Their cold surfaces and perfect symmetry create a sense of permanence. Yet the shadows between them suggest impermanence, the movement of forces that are not entirely of this world. Each glance confirms a menorah-esque dual nature, magnificent yet ominous, beautiful yet unsettling. Many who explore Nightshade Manor describe a disorientation that deepens as the night progresses. Corridors twist, staircases appear longer, and rooms that were once familiar seem altered in subtle ways. This dislocation of perception intensifies the feeling that the estate is alive, reshaping itself around those who wander within, testing their awareness, and rewarding those who notice details with fleeting, inexplicable phenomena. The fountains continue to draw attention, their surfaces disturbed not by wind or rain, but by shapes that ripple across the water with life of their own. Reflections of visitors are occasionally accompanied by secondary figures, fleeting and ethereal, moving in ways impossible to reconcile with reality. These moments leave an impression that is both mesmerizing and disquieting, as though the manor itself is sharing secrets meant for attentive eyes alone. Throughout the mansion, subtle sounds serve as constant reminders of presence and absence. The creak of floorboards, the whisper of unseen drafts, and the occasional slam of a door create a layered symphony of tension. Guests report that their senses sharpen, that they become acutely aware of space, light, and shadow. Nightshade Manor demands observation and attention, offering glimpses of the extraordinary to those willing to notice. Time within the estate seems to shift. Hours can pass unnoticed, or moments stretch longer than expected. Visitors who experience these distortions often speak of a heightened awareness, a feeling that the estate has a rhythm of its own, one that operates independently from the world outside its gates. Shadows, reflections, and sounds are all part of this rhythm, a subtle communication that leaves no visitor untouched. Nightshade Manor remains a place of beauty, history, and quiet dread. It is a realm where perception is tested, where shadows are more than mere absence of light, and where reflections may reveal truths hidden from the eye. The estate beckons the curious and the brave, offering a glimpse into a world that straddles a line between the familiar and the unknown. To walk the ground and halls of Nightshade Manor is to enter a narrative without words, a story written in shadow, stone, and water. Each visitor becomes part of this unfolding tale, their footsteps recorded in ways they may never understand. The manor endures as it always has, simultaneously magnificent, mysterious, and haunting, a place where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the extraordinary is woven seamlessly into the fabric of everyday reality. Ravenhill Garden stretches across rolling terrain, its paths lined with centuries-old trees and carefully manicured hedges. By day it is serene, the soft rustle of leaves and distant bird songs creating an air of peace. But as evening falls, the gardens transform, and an uncanny presence begins to settle over the grounds, drawing visitors into a world where shadows move and whispers linger. The statues are the most striking feature of Ravenhill Gardens. Carved from pale marble, they depict women in flowing gowns, their expression serene and lifelike. Visitors walking along the paths often report a feeling of being watched. Some claim that the statues subtly turn their heads to follow those who pass, a movement so slight that it is barely perceptible, yet impossible to ignore. The air near these figures carries a weight, a sensation that the garden itself is aware of every step taken upon its paths. As night deepens, whispers drift through the gardens. They are soft, barely audible at first, like the wind through the leaves, but persistent. They are soft, barely audible at first, like the wind through the leaves, but persistent. Visitors have said that these voices ask for forgotten names, murmuring in tones that are at once sorrowful and demanding. It is as if the gardens are seeking acknowledgement of the past, calling out to those who wander to recognize the lives and stories that once moved through the estate. The effect is subtle, unnerving, yet impossible to dismiss, a constant reminder that Ravenhill Gardens exist beyond the ordinary. The effect is subtle, unnerving, yet impossible to dismiss, a constant reminder that Ravenhill Gardens exist beyond the ordinary. The paths themselves seem to have a life of their own. Guests have reported hearing footsteps circling them, echoing in areas that are otherwise empty. Sometimes the sound comes from just behind, then from another direction entirely, as if unseen presences are exploring the same routes. The sensation of being followed is never overtly threatening, but it carries an unmistakable tension, a feeling that the gardens are alive in ways that go beyond the natural. The night air enhances every detail. Mist clings to the ground, softening shapes and creating illusions among the trees. Moonlight glints off the marble statues, emphasizing their lifelike features, and shadows stretch across the paths, shifting subtly as though moved by invisible hands. Visitors often describe the atmosphere as heavy yet captivating, a mixture of awe and unease that draws them deeper into the garden while keeping them alert to every sound, every movement. Ravenhill Gardens has a history woven into every stone and tree. The original estate was designed with precision and care. Yet over time, the stories of its occupants and caretakers have layered upon the grounds, leaving echoes of lives long past. These echoes manifest in subtle ways, through the statues that seem aware, through whispers that call out names, and through the sensation of unseen footsteps. Each visitor contributes to the ongoing presence, becoming part of the Gardena-esque living memory. The design of the gardens contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Curving paths and hidden alcoves create spaces where sightlines are limited, making it easy for shadows to play tricks on perception. Benches tucked away beneath trees invite pause, yet even these seemingly safe spots carry a sense of observation, as though the garden itself is studying those who linger. The effect is immersive, drawing the visitor into a world where the ordinary rules of space and time feel suspended. Even in silence, the garden communicates. The rustle of leaves may carry subtle messages. The wind might seem to echo the faint hum of footsteps, and reflections on water from small fountains distort and shift, suggesting movement where there is none. Guests often describe a heightened awareness, sensing presence in areas that appear empty, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon them. The experience is atmospheric and persistent, lingering long after leaving the garden. Time moves differently in Ravenhill Gardens at night. Minutes stretch as shadows lengthen, and shapes seem to shift just at the edge of vision. Visitors describe a feeling of being part of the Estetia-esque narrative, of walking through layers of memory that exist alongside the present. The gardens reward curiosity yet test caution, offering beauty intertwined with subtle unease. The statues appear frozen, the paths clear, and the whispers vanish into the morning air. Yet those who walk the paths at night carry the impression of a living, breathing presence, a garden that remembers and watches. The sensation remains, a quiet acknowledgement that Ravenhill Gardens is a place where history and the supernatural intersect, leaving every visitor with a sense of wonder and quiet reverence. Ravenhill Gardens endures as a space where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. Statues turn, whispers call, and footsteps echo through empty paths, creating an experience that is as mysterious as it is captivating. Every visit offers a chance to witness the interplay of history, nature, and the unseen, reminding guests that some places hold stories that are never fully silent, and that the gardens themselves may remember long after the night has passed. Ashbourne Estate stretches across rolling lawns and manicured gardens, a place of elegance and refinement by day. A place of elegance and refinement by day. Visitors are drawn to the beauty and symmetry, wandering slowly along the winding paths, absorbing the tranquility of the estate. As dusk falls, however, Ashbourne Estate takes on a different character. The statues seem to shift subtly, marble cherubs disappearing from their pedestals, and reappearing elsewhere without explanation. The movement is almost imperceptible at first, but frequent guests begin to notice that the arrangement they admired hours earlier no longer matches their memory. The estate appears alive, aware of those who walk its grounds, subtly rearranging its features when attention falters. The gardens themselves contribute to the estate's enigmatic nature. Rose petals drift across the lawns, forming intricate patterns even when there is no wind to stir them. Observers describe geometric shapes or flowing trails that lead toward hidden corners or fountains. The petals seem deliberate in their placement, guiding the gaze, teasing curiosity, and heightening the sense that the garden responds to the presence of those who enter. Visitors often report a sense of being observed. Statues seem to turn their heads ever so slightly, their expressions shifting with the light and the angle of vision. Some guests insist that cherubs smile when no one is looking, a quiet gesture that disappears when attention returns. The effect is subtle yet unnerving, creating a feeling that the estate carries its own consciousness, and that even beauty may conceal an awareness beyond the human eye. At night, Ashbourne Estate transforms entirely. Shadows lengthen across the lawns, blending with the soft glow of lanterns along the paths. Figures appear to move, caught between perception and imagination, creating a sense of motion in the stillness. Even the air feels different, heavier with quiet anticipation, as if the estate itself breathes and waits. As if the estate itself breathes and waits. The fountains scattered throughout the gardens contribute to the haunting atmosphere. Water trickles and flows, yet sometimes the sound seems amplified, carrying echoes that resemble faint laughter or whispered conversation. Visitors have reported hearing steps on pathways that are empty, the gentle ripple of water synchronized with movements that have no visible source. The estate becomes a sensory experience where sight, sound, and the subtle touch of air combine to create a feeling of presence and mystery. Hedges and topiaries form intricate mazes that shift in subtle ways. Paths once open may feel closed or redirected, guiding wanderers toward new views of statues or fountains. The interplay between structure and subtle alteration enhances the sense of unpredictability, making the gardens feel both familiar and alien. Observers describe a growing awareness that the estate itself is not merely a backdrop, but an active participant in the experience, shaping perception and attention in unseen ways. Shaping perception and attention in unseen ways. Ashbourne Estate is not only a visual wonder, but also a place of narrative. Each statue, each fountain, each rose petal seems to carry a story, silent but persistent. Guests find themselves questioning what is real, what is memory, and what belongs to the estate itself. Even the night sky interacts with Ashbourne Estate. Moonlight filters through the branches of trees, casting moving shadows across lawns and pathways. Stars reflect in the fountains, shimmering and shifting as if acknowledging the motion below. Light and darkness play across the statues, accentuating the sense that they are alive in some small, imperceptible way, observing and responding to those who wander too long. When visitors finally leave, the impressions of Ashbourne Estate linger. The shifting cherubs, the whispered echoes, the patterns of petals, and the statues that seem to follow the eye, all remain in memory. The estate is a place where beauty and unease coexist, a garden of refinement intertwined with subtle, persistent mystery. Ashbourne Estate does not forget those who enter, leaving a quiet, lasting impression that stays long after the paths have been left behind. Frostvale Manor rises silently among snow-dusted trees, a grand estate whose elegance belies a history wrapped in mystery. Its tall stone walls and arched windows glimmer under the cold light of the moon, casting long shadows across frost-covered gardens. The air carries a subtle chill, as if the estate itself exhales a frozen breath that reaches every corner of its grounds. The gardens of Frostvale are meticulously designed yet strangely unsettling. Marble animals, scattered along winding paths, appear to shift ever so slightly when visitors pass. Eyes seem to track movements with unnerving precision, and statues that once stood proudly may now seem to lean closer, as though curious or watchful. A stillness hangs over the grounds, broken only by the occasional crunch of frost underfoot or the whisper of wind through bare branches. At the center of the gardens lies a fountain, dry for decades, yet it is a focal point of countless reports of soft weeping. The sound is faint, almost imperceptible at first, rising and falling with the subtle rhythm of the estate itself. Visitors have described a feeling of sorrow clinging to the air, a melancholy that seems to emanate from the stone basin, as though some unseen presence mourns eternally. The paths of Frostvale Manor twist and arch like a labyrinth. Statues along these paths sometimes appear to kneel or bow in the glow of moonlight, gestures that vanish with the next flicker of darkness. Those who walk these paths feel the weight of unseen eyes and the sensation that the estate itself is alive, responding subtly to their presence. Those who walk these paths feel the weight of unseen eyes and the sensation that the estate itself is alive, responding subtly to their presence. Inside the manor, silence reigns with different intensity. The echo of footsteps is sharp and solitary against polished floors. Tall ceilings and grand corridors create a sense of grandeur, yet the space feels haunted by absence. Doors may creak gently, curtains may sway though no breeze moves, and the faint scent of aged stone and candle wax hangs persistently, as if the walls themselves remember every passing day. The estate's architecture lends an air of both beauty and unease. Arched windows overlook gardens where shadows pool, and the cold stone of the manor seems to absorb sound. intensifying perception of faint whispers or footsteps that never were. Visitors often sense a presence just beyond sight, something observing silently, waiting, or perhaps replaying events long past. The marble animals in the garden carry an unsettling realism. Rabbits, foxes, and birds carved with intricate detail appear to move in the corner of Oni's vision. Some guests report fleeting sensations of warmth as if the statues momentarily possess life, only for the chill to return immediately, leaving the mind to question the nature of what was seen. The effect is subtle but undeniable, an impression that Frostvale Manor is not merely a place, but a living narrative carved in stone and shadow. At night, the estate transforms further. Moonlight accentuates every crevice and projection, and the air grows thick with the scent of cold earth and frozen foliage. Sounds carry differently, whispers stretch longer, and shadows lengthen unnaturally. Those who explore after dusk often feel the soft touch of invisible fingers on their shoulders or the faint brush of passing figures. The sensation is never harmful, yet it leaves an indelible mark on the memory, a reminder that Frostvale is inhabited not only by history, but by lingering presence. Visitors frequently describe the feeling of stories replaying through the gardens. Marble statues kneeling or tilting their heads, fountains echoing with the faintest sobs, and the careful positioning of objects that seem altered upon return, all create a sense of participation in a subtle, ongoing drama. The estate becomes a stage where the past is never truly gone, and where every careful step may be observed by unseen eyes. Frostvale Manor exists in a delicate balance of beauty and eeriness. Every architectural detail, every garden path, and every cold stone surface contributes to an atmosphere of quiet tension. Guests feel both awe and apprehension, compelled to witness the estate's grandeur, while sensing a layer of presence that is neither seen nor fully understood. The stories of Frostvale are not limited to single moments. They are woven into the experience of wandering the grounds, feeling the frost beneath Oni's feet, hearing the soft cries near the central fountain, and noticing the statues shifting in subtle ways. Time seems suspended here, as if the manor hold the echoes of every visitor, every whisper, and every shadow within its walls. Those who leave the estate carry more than memories of architecture and gardens. They take with them impressions of life that may once have been, interactions with the unseen, and a lingering sense that Frostvale Manor is both a place and a presence. Each visit leaves a story written in the mind, a story of marble, frost, and the faint weeping that rises softly from the heart of the estate, echoing long after the traveler is gone. In Frostvale Manor, beauty and the uncanny coexist, inviting every visitor to witness an estate alive with memory, shadow, and subtle motion. Its gardens, statues, and silent corridors form a quiet dialogue between the present and what lingers just beyond perception. Every step through Frostvale is an encounter with the past, a brush with presence, and a reminder that some places, though frozen in time, continue to watch, to shift, and to speak in whispers only the attentive can hear. Hollowspire Garden stretches across the hillside, a labyrinth of manicured hedges, fountains, and weathered statues. The air carries the scent of earth and stone, mingling with the faint fragrance of flowers that bloom despite the chill. At first glance, the garden appears serene, a testament to artistry and devotion. Yet those who linger as the sun dips below the horizon often sense that something is not quite right. Visitors speak of angels and gargoyles that shift imperceptibly when unobserved. A stone wing may angle differently, or a gaze that once seemed distant now feels intent, following with a purpose that is hard to define. The effect is subtle but undeniable, creating a tension that grows with each step. It is as if the statues themselves are alive, guardians of the grounds, aware of the movements of every visitor. Temperature changes are another common phenomenon. In certain corners of the garden, the air drops sharply, leaving a shiver along the spine. The chill is localized, often passing as quickly as it arrives, yet its presence is unmistakable. Those who encounter it describe a sensation of being observed, a brush of awareness that goes beyond mere imagination. The cold becomes a language of its own, a silent communication from the garden to anyone paying attention. Whispers are reported throughout hollow spire gardens. Soft and fleeting, they seem to emerge in the stone itself, a blend of wind and unseen voices. The words are never clear, yet they carry urgency and intent, warnings that are felt rather than understood. Guests often pause, straining to interpret the sounds, only to realize that comprehension may not be the point. The garden speaks in emotion, in subtle cues, guiding or cautioning without revealing its full meaning. Paths twist and intersect, lined by sculpted greenery and aged statues. At dusk, shadows lengthen and merge with the forms of the angels and gargoyles, making it difficult to distinguish stone from shade. The effect is mesmerizing and unsettling, as though the garden exists on a threshold between reality and something older, something that has witnessed centuries of change and human passage. Water features add to the ambience. Fountains ripple without wind, their surfaces catching light in ways that seem deliberate. Reflections appear distorted at times, showing glimpses of forms that do not match what stands nearby. These illusions are fleeting, leaving behind a lingering unease, a sense that the garden has layers beyond what the eye can perceive. It is a place where the ordinary merges with the uncanny, and visitors are subtly reminded that they are not entirely alone. Even during the day, hollow spire gardens can feel different from other estates. The stonework hums with age, echoing faintly underfoot, and the careful geometry of the ground seems to possess intention beyond aesthetic. Every rustle of leaves, every distant bird call carries weight, and every glance at a statue seems to carry potential meaning. Night amplifies the gardenia's influence. Shadows deepen, and shapes that once seemed inert appear to move in tandem with the viewer. Whispers grow more distinct, though still unintelligible, threading through the paths and over the fountains. The air becomes cooler, carrying the sensation of brush and breath against the skin where no one is present. Each step taken feels significant, as though the garden monitors not just motion but intention, subtly guiding those who walk its paths. Some visitors report sensations of time shifting within hollow spire gardens. Moments stretch longer or pass in the blink of an eye, leaving an impression that the garden exists apart from the ordinary rhythm of the world. The temporal distortions, combined with the moving statues and sudden chills, create a disorienting effect, heightening both awe and apprehension. The experience lingers long after leaving, the mind recalling impressions that cannot fully be explained. Despite its haunting qualities, Hollow Spire Gardens is compelling. There is beauty in the meticulous design, in the elegance of stone and water, and in the artistry of statues that seem imbued with life. Yet this beauty is inseparable from its mysteries. For every elegant path and shadowed corner carries a potential for wonder and unease. Visitors are drawn to explore, yet they remain cautious, aware that the garden is both welcoming and unknowable. Hollow Spire Gardens endures as a place where perception, memory, and environment intertwine. It is a living space in which stone watches, air communicates, and shadows move with subtle intent. Those who walk its paths do so knowing they may see what cannot be fully understood and feel what cannot be explained. The garden challenges the boundaries between observer and observed, leaving an impression that is both unforgettable and unplaceable. To enter Hollow Spire Gardens is to step into a story written in stone, air, and light. Every pathway, every statue, and every whisper contributes to a narrative that unfolds uniquely for each visitor. The garden is a space of contemplation, beauty, and quiet dread, a place where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the extraordinary quietly asserts itself in the form of shadows, chills, and fleeting whispers. Those who walk its paths become part of its history, participants in a silent dialogue that continues as it has for centuries. Mysterious, compelling, and profoundly alive, a space where the past and present converge, where the boundaries between reality and fantasy blur, and the ordinary becomes the stuff of nightmares. Those who dare to enter Hollow Spire Gardens will never be the same. Black Veil Estate rises from the landscape like a shadow, its silhouette etched against the night sky. The grounds are expansive, lined with ancient trees whose gnarled branches stretch over winding paths and hidden alcoves. By day, the estate appears stately and serene, a place of careful design and meticulous upkeep. But as dusk settles, the atmosphere shifts, and the gardens are swallowed by a thick, almost tangible fog that clings to every surface, muting sound and obscuring vision. The fog seems alive, moving slowly through the hedges and across the lawns, curling around statues and benches as if it carries memory. Visitors walking the paths at night often describe a sensation of being watched, an almost imperceptible pressure at the edge of perception. Shapes shift within the mist, vague and indistinct, and yet the mind struggles to dismiss them entirely. The estate feels aware, as though it senses each footstep, recording every movement, every presence. The statues scattered throughout the gardens are particularly unsettling. Carved from pale marble, they depict figures in flowing robes, animals perched on pedestals, and mythical beings frozen mid-motion. Overnight, some of these statues appear to shift subtly. A head tilts slightly, a hand moves closer to the edge of a pedestal, an animal twists as though turning to observe something unseen. Guests are reported returning to the same garden corners at different times to find the arrangements altered, the statues now positioned as if they had moved with purpose. Whispers float through the fog, soft and fleeting, never quite forming words that can be understood. They seem to echo the emotions of those who walk the paths, carrying traces of fear, curiosity, and awe. Some visitors report a tingling sensation along their skin, a faint brush of air that feels almost like fingers tracing their arms. The estate engages all senses, inviting observation while maintaining its secrets. The architecture of Black Veil Estate enhances its eerie presence. Winding paths create hidden sightlines. Labyrinthine hedges obscure long views, and alcoves and gazebos offer shelter, yet also conceal the unknown. Moonlight glances off marble surfaces, elongating shadows and creating forms that seem to move independently. Reflections on small ponds and fountains distort the familiar, turning the ordinary into something subtly alien. Each element of the estate contributes to a living, breathing atmosphere that is both beautiful and unnerving. Visitors often describe the sense that the estate holds memory. Every step taken, every pause along a path, and every glance toward a statue is recorded in a way that defies explanation. Some have returned to gardens weeks later to find the environment change in response to their previous visits. Subtle shifts in placement or ambience that suggest the estate itself is conscious. It is as if Black Veil Estate remembers who has walked its grounds and reacts accordingly, shaping the experience for those who return. Time within the estate at night feels different. Minutes stretch and contract unpredictably. Shadows lengthen or shorten without apparent cause, and the fog thickens and thins as if breathing. Visitors describe a heightened awareness, feeling simultaneously immersed in the gardens and observed by them. Even silence is charged, dense with expectation and anticipation. Every sense is engaged, every detail amplified, creating an experience that lingers long after the fog is lifted. The estate is not hostile, but it is enigmatic. Guests report that curiosity is rewarded, yet caution is necessary. The paths guide and mislead, the statues observe and move, and the fog both reveals and conceals. The gardens are alive in a way that challenges perception, blending history, artistry, and the inexplicable into a continuous narrative of shadow and light. By dawn, Black Veil Estate appears serene once more. The fog dissipates, the statues settle into stillness, and the gardens exude the quiet dignity of a place carefully maintained. Yet those who walk the paths at night carry the memory of its subtle movements, whispers, and lingering presence. The estate leaves an indelible mark, a quiet sense of awe, and an awareness that some places retain more than history. They hold the essence of every visitor who has ever wandered through them. Black Veil Estate endures as a realm of mystery and elegance. The fog rolls, statues shift, and the gardens remember. Each visitor becomes part of its ongoing story, contributing to a legacy that blends the visible with the unseen. It is a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, where memory and presence coexist, and where the experience remains long after the last footsteps have faded into the dawn. Silvervale Manor sits atop a gentle rise, its stone walls bathed in the soft glow of twilight. By day, the estate is a vision of elegance, with manicured lawns and delicate rose gardens stretching across the grounds. Visitors are drawn to serene beauty, wandering paths lined with sculpted hedges and ornate fountains. The air carries the fragrance of countless blooms, blending with the faint rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. As night falls, however, Silvervale Manor reveals a different character. The rose gardens, once soft and subtle in color, bloom in shades that defy expectation. Deep silvers, iridescent purples, and pale blues seem to glow under the moonlight. The flowers appear to shift and sway even when the air is still, as if alive and aware of those who wander too close. Shadows stretch long across the paths, and the subtle movements of the gardens lend an uncanny energy to the estate. Marble figures stand throughout the grounds, sculpted with precision and artistry. Lions, foxes, and mythical creatures occupy pedestals along the paths. Human forms in frozen poses gaze serenely toward the gardens. Yet visitors often notice that these figures seem to move subtly, heads turning or eyes glimmering in the moonlight. Some statues shift positions slightly over the course of an evening, altering the familiar paths and creating an ever-changing maze that tests both orientation and perception. The winding pathways and dense hedges create a labyrinthine quality to this estate. Guests who wander the gardens may feel an unexplainable pull in certain directions, drawn toward fountains, statues, or arches that were not their moments before. Some have reported briefly losing sight of companions, only to find them waiting silently near another path. It is as if the manor itself guides movement, rearranging subtly and silently, creating experiences that are at once beautiful and disorienting. Water features scattered across the grounds add to the manor's enigmatic atmosphere. Fountains trickle with crystal clarity, yet the sound sometimes carries a resonance that seems amplified, echoing across paths that appear empty. Reflections in the water are not always accurate, showing figures where none exist or subtly altering the positions of those standing nearby. The interplay of light, water, and shadow heightens a sense that the estate watches and interacts with visitors. The air within Silvervale Manor carries an almost tangible stillness, punctuated by subtle, almost imperceptible sounds. Leaves shift with no wind, petals tumble softly on the paths, and footsteps seem to echo where none have walked. Guests report sensations of being observed, an awareness that goes beyond ordinary perception. The estate encourages careful attention, rewarding those who watch closely, while unsettling those who wander heedlessly. Silvervale Manor is not merely a place of aesthetic beauty, but of narrative and memory, the evening blending seamlessly into night, and night into a strange, timeless awareness. Visitors often describe a sensation that the manor remembers them, that each step, glance, and hesitation is noted and incorporated into its living memory. Even the sky above seems to interact with Silvervale Manor. Moonlight and starlight filter through branches, creating moving patterns of light and shadow across lawns and paths. The roses shimmer under the celestial glow, and reflections in water surfaces add layers of perception, making familiar spaces appear unfamiliar. The combination of flora, sculpture, and light crafts an environment that is immersive, almost theatrical, and undeniably alive. Those who leave Silvervale Manor carry with them impressions that linger long after departing. The unusual roses, the subtle movements of statues, the maze-like paths, and the echoing whispers of fountains combine to create an experience that is simultaneously enchanting and disquieting. Visitors often speak of fleeting sensations, of glimpsed movements, and of memories that feel more alive than ordinary reality. The estate leaves its mark, a quiet but persistent presence that haunts thought and imagination. Silvervale Manor remains a place where beauty and mystery intertwine. The gardens, statues, and paths are not merely static objects, but elements of a living experience. Each visit becomes a story, each evening a journey through spaces that defy expectation and perception. Guests depart with the understanding that the manor is more than stone and flora. It is a place that leaves them with lasting impressions of wonder and quiet unease. Night Bloom Garden stretches across a quiet expanse, where winding paths weave between hedges and ornate flower beds. By day, the gardens appear serene and inviting, filled with carefully sculpted statues and vibrant blooms. Yet as night falls, the atmosphere shifts, and a familiar beauty takes on an air of unease. Shadows deepen, and the air carries a subtle tension, as if the garden itself is aware of every movement within its bounds. Visitors often describe a strange stillness punctuated by faint sounds. Whispers seem to drift among the flowers, soft and fleeting, echoing as if they emerge from nowhere. Footsteps echo along cobblestone paths, yet when eyes search for their source, no one is there. The sensation of being watched grows stronger with every step, a feeling that the very air holds a presence beyond the visible. The statues throughout Night Bloom Gardens play a peculiar role in the Estetia's haunting reputation. Figures of women, carved with delicate detail, seem almost alive under the dim glow of moonlight. Observers report that these statues subtly shift their heads, tilting toward those who wander too close. The effect is brief but unmistakable, leaving the impression that the Gardenia's stone sentinels are aware of intruders and quietly tracking their movements. Some visitors claim that shadows behave independently of the statues. Shapes move with purpose, stretching and contracting across garden walls, darting between trees, or gliding over flower beds. The movements are never threatening, yet they convey a presence that is deliberate and intelligent. Many leave with the feeling that the shadows themselves are the true guardians of Night Bloom, acting in tandem with the statues to observe, to follow, and perhaps to warn. Paths lined with ancient trees create natural corridors of darkness. Moonlight filters through twisting branches, casting angular patterns on the ground. In these shadowed corridors, whispers grow clearer, forming indistinct syllables that vanish when one attempts to focus on them. Footsteps seem to follow from behind, fading and returning in a rhythm, mimics the heartbeat of the gardens. The effect is subtle but deeply unsettling, as if the space between the trees holds both history and something beyond comprehension. The floral arrangements in Night Bloom Gardens also contribute to its uncanny character. Flowers appear perfectly tended, yet at night, petals sometimes glisten with dew that forms in impossible patterns. Visitors report that the sense of night-blooming flowers intensifies suddenly, filling the air with a perfume that seems almost too strong for the natural world. It is as if the gardens themselves breathe, exhaling in rhythm with the unseen presence that inhabits its paths. Fountains scattered throughout the grounds enhance the spectral atmosphere. The gentle trickle of water is sometimes accompanied by soft echoes of movement or laughter that cannot be attributed to any living source. Stone basins glimmer under moonlight, reflecting not only the garden but faint figures at the edge of vision, appearing for a moment before dissolving into shadow. The central courtyard of Night Bloom Gardens holds the most unsettling phenomena. Here, the statues are most numerous and the shadows densest. Some visitors have witnessed figures emerging from corners of darkness, only to vanish when approached. These movements are fluid, intentional, as if they belong to the realm of the living and beyond. Observers often experience a heightened sense of awareness, noticing details they had overlooked in daylight, sensing layers of history pressing through the present. The experience of wandering Night Bloom Gardens is immersive and transformative. Every step brings a mixture of beauty and tension, where soft sounds, flickering shadows, and subtle movements of statues combine into a singular narrative of observation and presence. The gardens feel alive, not in the sense of wildlife or human activity, but as though memory and spirit are embedded in stone, soil, and flora, interacting with those who dare to enter after dusk. Night Bloom Gardens rewards careful attention, observers who pause to study a statue, often sense the intelligence behind the subtle phenomena. There is no malice in the experience, only a persistent awareness that the gardens are more than a collection of flowers and stone. They are a space where the past continues to watch, to move, and to breathe in the quiet intervals of night. As dawn approaches, the whispers fade and shadows retract, blending with the returning light. The statues return to their still forms, and the garden appears once more as a tranquil sanctuary. Yet for those who have wandered its paths in darkness, the impression lingers. Night Bloom Gardens is a place where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural feels thin, where movement, sound, and presence persist long after the visitor has left. Those who return speak of a subtle tension in the air, a reminder that Night Bloom Gardens is alive in ways unseen. Every twist of a path, every glance at a statue, becomes part of a larger narrative of observation and silent interaction. It is a space that invites curiosity, rewards attention, and leaves an indelible impression on the mind, a lingering awareness that some places remain awake while the world sleeps. Night Bloom Gardens is a testament to the interplay of art, nature, and the unseen. Statues, shadows, whispers, and footsteps converge to create an environment that is simultaneously enchanting and eerie. Visitors leave with memories of beauty intertwined with subtle fear, a sensation that lingers like the scent of night-blooming flowers, and a story of a garden that watches, listens, and moves in the quiet hours when few dare to wander. Hollowbrook Estate sits atop a gentle rise, its sprawling gardens lined with marble sculptures and carefully tended hedges. The air carries a chill, even on days when the sun shines warmly, and a stillness lingers that seems heavier than the absence of wind alone. Visitors often describe the grounds as beautiful yet unsettling, a place where time and motion feel subtly distorted. The sculptures scattered throughout the estate are said to move when no one watches. A statue that once faced a fountain may now glance toward a path, or an angelic figure may have shifted its hands as though gesturing. These changes are subtle, but noticeable to those who return day after day. The effect is uncanny, giving the impression that the garden itself possesses awareness, and that it observes every step of anyone who wanders its paths. Temperature shifts add to the estatea's eerie reputation. As visitors walk through shaded avenues, they often feel icy fingers graze their arms or shoulders. The sensation is fleeting but vivid, leaving a shiver that lingers long after the chill has passed. Some describe the feeling as deliberate, almost sentient, as though the garden tests, warns, or reacts to the presence of outsiders. It is a quiet intimacy with something that is not entirely human. Whispers and distant laughter echo across the grounds. Guests are reported pausing mid-step, straining to locate the origin, only to find empty walkways and silent corners. The laughter has been described as both playful and sinister, a haunting chorus that seems intent on being noticed without revealing its speaker. Paths wind unpredictably through the gardens, sometimes narrowing between dense hedges, and other times opening into wide courtyards. The layout appears deliberate yet disorienting, creating a sense that the estate expands and contracts depending on the time of day or the movement of the visitor. Shadows deepen as the sun lowers, and the sculptures seem to take on new forms, their features sharpening and eyes appearing more lifelike. Water features amplify the estate's uncanny atmosphere. Fountains ripple without wind, and ponds reflect shapes that do not correspond to the surrounding flora or sculptures. At times, a figure seems to glide just beneath the surface, vanishing when approached. These reflections are fleeting and often subtle, leaving a lingering impression that the estate possesses hidden layers beyond perception of the eye. Even during daylight, Hollowbrook Estate feels different from ordinary gardens. The stone pathways hum faintly underfoot, and leaves rustle in a way that suggests more than wind. Visitors describe a heightened awareness, as if every movement is observed and recorded by the estate itself. The experience can be mesmerizing, drawing guests deeper into its grounds, while maintaining a steady undercurrent of unease. At night, the estate transforms. Shadows stretch across lawns and statues, deepening into forms that seem to move independently of their bases. The chill becomes more pronounced, and distant laughter grows sharper, weaving through the garden like a thread. Guests report sensing eyes on them, feeling the presence of something unseen moving just beyond the periphery of vision. Every step feels significant, every glance potentially consequential. Time itself appears to behave differently at Hollowbrook Estate. Moments stretch or collapse, leaving visitors unsure how long they've been wandering. Some report losing hours entirely, only to find themselves in a courtyard or along a path they do not recall entering. These temporal distortions, combined with moving sculptures and sudden chills, create a disorienting effect, heightening both fascination and apprehension. Despite its haunting qualities, the estate draws the curious and the brave. Its beauty is undeniable, from the intricate details of each sculpture to the symmetry of fountains and hedges. Yet the beauty is inseparable from the estetia es mysteries, where every shadow, whisper, and sudden chill serves as a reminder that Hollowbrook is not entirely passive. The gardens are alive in a way that is subtle yet profound, guiding, testing, and observing those who traverse them. Hollowbrook Estate endures as a place where perception, memory, and environment intertwine. Visitors leave with vivid impressions that cannot fully be explained. The estate remains both inviting and unknowable, a landscape of elegance and quiet dread, where every corner holds the possibility of wonder or unease. To wander through Hollowbrook Estate is to step into a living narrative written in stone, water, and shadow. Each pathway, each sculpture, each sound contributes to a story unique to every visitor. The estate challenges the boundaries between observer and observed, creating an experience that is unforgettable, subtly unsettling, and profoundly alive. The gardens of Hollowbrook are not merely seen. They are felt, remembered, and carried in the mind, leaving an impression that endures as long as the estate itself. Black Spire Garden stretches across the landscape like a fortress of greenery, its tall hedges forming narrow corridors that twist and turn. By day, the gardens appear meticulous and regal, lined with flowers, fountains, and carefully trimmed topiaries. Yet as twilight falls, the atmosphere transforms. Shadows lengthen and move in ways that seem almost deliberate, slipping between the hedges and around statues as if the gardens themselves are alive. The air grows heavy with anticipation. The scent of damp earth and aged foliage fills the pathways, and a subtle chill drifts along the corridors, brushing against the skin of those who wander too long. The fog that often settles within the hedges softens sound and distorts perception, creating the sensation that the gardens are larger than they appear, stretching into corners unseen and corridors that may not exist in daylight. Marble figures of warriors are scattered throughout the estate. Their forms are lifelike, depicting swords raised, shields poised, and eyes cast toward imagined foes. Visitors have reported that these figures appear to shift their positions subtly, always aligning to face the living as they move through the gardens. It is as if the statues are guarding the grounds, warning of dangers both known and unseen. Even when the figures seem still, an awareness lingers, as if they remember past conflicts and the bloodshed that stained the soil. Local legend tells of a duel fought long ago, a confrontation that ended in tragedy and left spirits tethered to the gardens. Some believe the echoes of that fateful night remain, woven into the fabric of Black Spire Gardens. Footsteps, faint and hesitant, have been reported along the main paths, though no one can be seen. Whispers rise and fall in the wind, carrying fragments of warning and grief, almost as if the dueling spirits are attempting to communicate with intruders. As darkness deepens, the hedges seem to close in, narrowing pathways and obscuring familiar landmarks. Guests often describe a sensation of being watched, of shadows moving just beyond the corner of vision, retreating when looked at directly. The statues, positioned along strategic points, appear to follow each visitor, their eyes cold and unyielding. It is an atmosphere of subtle menace, a place where the line between history and haunting is blurred, and where every movement is recorded in silence. The gardens themselves are designed to guide and confuse simultaneously. Winding paths lead to fountains and alcoves. Yet corners shift in perception, creating an impression of hidden corridors and unseen chambers. Moonlight glints off marble surfaces, elongating shadows and making familiar shapes appear distorted. Reflections in small pools of water offer glimpses of forms that are never fully clear, fleeting images of figures poised in combat or standing silently at the edge of awareness. Visitors report that time in Blackspire Gardens behaves differently. Moments stretch and contract, and the gardens seem to react to the motions of those walking within them. Curiosity may draw someone deeper into the hedges, while fear compels them to retreat. The fog shifts and swirls in response, thickening in areas of uncertainty and parting to reveal unexpected openings. Even the sound of footsteps and rustling leaves carry an almost sentient quality, echoing longer or fading too soon depending on where a person stands. The estate is not overtly hostile, but it commands respect. It tests those who enter, observing reactions and leaving subtle reminders of the past. The duel that occurred centuries ago has left an indelible mark on the land, and the spirits of Blackspire Gardens continue to watch over their domain. Every visitor leaves an imprint, and in return, takes home the memory of a place that is as beautiful as it is unsettling. By dawn, the gardens regain their serene appearance. Statues stand motionless, the fog lifts, and the pathways reveal themselves as carefully maintained. Yet those who walked among the hedges at night carry the echoes of whispers, fleeting shadows, and the unnerving sensation that the gardens were aware of every step taken. Blackspire Gardens endures as a living memorial to history, tragedy, and vigilance, a realm where beauty and mystery coexist, and where the past never truly fades. In Blackspire Gardens, every turn holds a secret, every statue a sentinel, and every shadow a story waiting to be discovered. Visitors leave changed, aware that some places retain more than memory. They hold the essence of those who came before and watch silently, forever present, in the ever-shifting corridors of the estate. Ravenshade Manor sits atop a gentle hill, its stone walls wrapped in ivy and shadow. By day, the estate exudes elegance and serenity. Fountains sparkle in the sunlight, marble statues stand frozen in time, and gardens stretch outward in precise patterns. Visitors are drawn to its beauty, wandering along paths lined with hedges and flower beds. The air carries a subtle scent of roses and lavender, and the gentle trickle of fountains provides a soothing background to the quiet estate. As dusk settles, Ravenshade Manor begins to reveal a more enigmatic character. The fountains, so familiar by day, take on a strange quality under the silver light of the moon. Reflections ripple across their surfaces, forming shapes that do not exist in reality. Others sense movement beneath the surface, subtle distortions that suggest the presence of something unseen, lingering just beyond perception. The marble statues, pristine and unmoving in daylight, seem to change in the night. Their forms appear closer than they were before, as if shifting imperceptibly to observe those who wander the grounds. Eyes once lifeless seem to glimmer with awareness, and angles of limbs take on a new intention in the soft moonlight. Some guests report a subtle, almost imperceptible rhythm in statues, a breathing or shifting that feels disturbingly alive, though no living force is present. The gardens of Ravenshade Manor take on an otherworldly quality at night. Flower beds shimmer, with colors more vivid than daylight allows. Petals move in patterns that suggest intention. Paths seem to twist and lengthen, leading visitors through spaces that feel familiar yet impossibly altered. Sounds carry differently here. The rustle of leaves and the whisper wind create patterns that suggest voices, though none can be clearly understood. The manor feels alive, attentive, and quietly observing. Fountains and water features hold a particular fascination and unease. Visitors describe ripples that do not align with the wind. Reflections show figures standing where no one is present, a sense of depth beyond the basin itself. Some see fleeting glimpses of shapes moving just beneath the surface, as if the water itself remembers those who have walked the grounds. The play of light and shadow transforms familiar scenes into living visions, merging reality with something unspoken and spectral. Ravenshade Manor's architecture contributes to its mysterious atmosphere. Arched bridges, stone staircases, and narrow corridors create a labyrinth of possibility. At night, angles and perspective shift subtly, and the layout of the estate seems fluid. Paths that led in one direction by day may curve unexpectedly under the moon, and familiar statues appear in new positions. Guests often sense a deliberate orchestration, as if the manor itself guides movement and perception, challenging understanding and provoking unease. Sounds within Ravenshade Manor are equally unsettling. Water trickles from fountains with an unnatural resonance. Footsteps echo along empty pathways, and leaves stir as though brushed by invisible hands. Guests sometimes hear soft murmurs that circle the gardens, impossible to trace to any source. These auditory illusions deepen the sense of the estate is aware, interacting with visitors in subtle and deliberate ways. The quietest moments carry the heaviest weight, filling the senses with a tension that is both delicate and unrelenting. Visitors report encounters that defy simple explanation. Shadows shift in corners of vision. Statues seem to follow movement. Glimpses of figures appear in reflections that vanish when directly observed. The air itself feels charged, heavy with the presence of memories. Attention and unspoken observation weigh heavily on the viewer. Time seems to flow differently within Ravenshade Manor. The progression from evening to night feels extended, minutes stretching into longer perceptions of space and presence. Despite the subtle disquiet, Ravenshade Manor retains a hypnotic beauty. The interplay of light, water, sculpture, and flora creates an environment that is immersive and cinematic. Every path, fountain, and statue contributes to the atmosphere, weaving together visual and sensory impressions into a coherent experience that is both enchanting and unsettling. The menorah's presence lingers long after visitors leave, leaving impressions that are at once vivid and ephemeral. Ravenshade Manor is more than architecture and gardens. The fountains, statues, and paths act in concert to create a space where beauty and unease coexist. Visitors depart carrying the weight of subtle disturbances, fleeting glimpses of movement, and the knowledge that the estate watches, remembers, and interacts. The manor leaves an indelible mark, a memory both haunting and unforgettable. Night deepens, and the estate remains still and observant. Moonlight glimmers off stone and water, casting long shadows that twist and shimmer. Guests may sleep within its walls, but the gardens, fountains, and statues continue their quiet watch, reminding all who enter that Ravenshade Manor is a place where reality and perception intertwine, where familiar becomes strange, and where every visitor becomes part of the lingering story of the estate. Ashwood Hollow stretches across a secluded landscape where winding pathways meander between dense groves and carefully tended flower beds. By day, the hollow appears peaceful, with sunlight glinting off the leaves and petals, casting dapple shadows across cobblestone paths. Yet as dusk approaches, a different character emerges, one steeped in subtle unease and quiet mystery. Visitors often notice roses blooming in patterns that defy explanation. Petals twist in intricate spirals. Colors blend in ways that seem unnatural, and flowers appear overnight where none existed before. Colors blend in ways that seem unnatural, and flowers appear overnight where none existed before. The phenomenon is never threatening, yet it carries an unmistakable aura of intelligence, as if the hollow itself arranges its blooms to convey a message or to mark the passage of unseen presences. Figures of cherubs and animals carved from stone and marble populate the gardens and walkways. By day, they appear static and decorative, yet as shadows lengthen, subtle movements are reported. A cherub may shift the tilt of its head, an animal statue may reposition a paw, all occurring when no human eye is directly observing. These small, deliberate gestures create the impression that the hollow is alive, quietly observing every step of its visitors. Whispers drift through the air along the garden paths, faint and fleeting, carrying echoes of past tragedies. They are not loud or menacing, but soft murmurs that brush the ear and vanish when attention turns toward them. The stories told by these whispers are subtle, woven into the rustle of leaves and the sighing of the wind, leaving a lingering sense of the lives and sorrows that have imprinted themselves upon the hollow. Pathways in Ashwood Hollow are lined with ancient trees, their branches twisting into natural archways. Moonlight filters through the canopy, casting shifting patterns of shadow on the ground. Subtle movements of statues and the gentle glow of flowers create a surreal atmosphere. Visitors often feel that the space itself breathes, exhaling a presence both distant and attentive, a reminder that the hollow is more than a collection of flora and stone. Fountains and small water features punctuate the gardens, their surfaces often perfectly still. Yet on occasion, ripples appear without wind or falling water, as if something beneath the surface moves deliberately, unseen. Observers may sense faint shapes or forms reflected in the water, disappearing when approached, reinforcing the sense that Ashwood Hollow is inhabited by presences that exist on the boundary between the natural and the supernatural. The rose gardens hold a particular fascination for those who enter after dusk. The impossible bloom patterns seem to follow an internal logic, guiding the visitor along winding paths, past statues and fountains, toward spaces where the whispers are most distinct. Here, the atmosphere thickens with anticipation, a sensation that history and memory linger more heavily, and that each step is accompanied by unseen attention. Shadows play a vital role in the Hollowa's enigmatic presence. Shadows stretch and contract independently of light sources, darting along the edges of vision. Shapes may appear humanoid or animalistic, fleeting and ungraspable, always moving with purpose. The combination of shadows, whispers, and shifting statues creates an immersive environment, one in which the visitora's senses are heightened, aware of every subtle change in the Gardenia's rhythm. Nightfall amplifies the hollow's mysteries. The roses emit a faint, ethereal glow in moonlight, illuminating pathways with a soft radiance. The statues appear more lifelike, and the shadows take on depth and intention. Whispers grow clearer, carrying fragments of conversations long ended, laughter mingled with sorrow, remnants of the lives that once walked these paths. Every turn of the walkway presents a new tableau, a living story in which visitors are both spectators and participants. The experience of wandering Ashwood Hollow is both enchanting and disquieting. Every detail of the impossible roses, the subtle shifts of statues, the movement of shadows, and the soft whispering that contributes to an atmosphere that is immersive and captivating. Visitors often leave with a lingering awareness that the hollow watches, remembers, and responds, a presence that exists quietly alongside the natural beauty of the gardens. Even as dawn approaches, the effect of the hollow remains palpable. Petals return to stillness, statues appear frozen once more, and shadows recede with the growing light. Yet the memory of whispered voices, shifting forms, and impossible blooms lingers, leaving those who walk the paths with a sense of wonder and unease. Ashwood Hollow is not merely a garden. It is a space where the past and present intertwine, where beauty is inseparable from subtle mystery, and where visitors are reminded that some places remain alive in ways unseen and unfathomable. Ashwood Hollow endures as a place of fascination and quiet tension. Its roses, statues, and whispers combine to form an environment that captivates the imagination and engages the senses. The hollow invites careful observation, rewarding those who notice the smallest details, leaving an impression that is both haunting and beautiful. Each visit becomes a story, a narrative of presence and observation, a journey through a garden where life, memory, and the unseen converge in ways that defy explanation. Dark Moon Estate stretches across acres of meticulously designed gardens. Yet despite the care in its design, the estate exudes an unsettling presence. Paths wind through towering hedges, reflecting pools and open courtyards, each space seeming to shift subtly with the movement of the visitor. Shadows cling to corners and alleys, hinting at motion where none should exist. The statues that populate the gardens are the estetia's most striking feature. Angels with bowed heads, warriors frozen mid-stride, and mythical beasts crouched as if ready to leap fill every open space. Yet those who wander grounds at dusk or under the silver light of the moon report seeing these figures move, shifting positions ever so slightly when unobserved. A warrior that once faced a fountain may now stand near a hedge, eyes following a path where no one walks. The effect is subtle but profound, leaving visitors questioning their own perceptions. Sound behaves oddly within the estate. Footsteps echo along gravel paths, even when no one is nearby. Whispers carry between hedgerows and across lawns, seeming to originate from the statues themselves. Distant laughter rises and falls like wind through the trees, playful yet cold, teasing those who linger too long in quiet corners. These auditory experiences are often fleeting, appearing suddenly and vanishing before the listener can locate the source. The interplay of light and shadow is central to the aesthetia's haunting quality. Moonlight casts sharp contrasts across fountains and sculptures, elongating forms and revealing angles that remain hidden by day. Many visitors swear that in these hours, the statues seem alive, muscles tightening and eyes glinting with unseen energy. A kneeling angel might raise its head, or a crouched beast might shift its weight as if preparing to spring. The effect is mesmerizing and terrifying, drawing observers deeper into the garden while reinforcing a sense of being watched. Drawing observers deeper into the garden. Paths in Dark Moon Estate are labyrinthine, and the layout seems to change with the movement of visitors. Walkways that were straight in the morning may curve unexpectedly at night, and certain alcoves appear only under specific angles of moonlight. This subtle disorientation intensifies the sense of mystery, making it difficult to distinguish between reality and the aesthetia's spectral influence. Many describe a feeling of being led, as if the garden itself has intentions beyond its design. Water features amplify the estate's strange ambience. Reflecting pools mirror shadows that do not correspond to any figure on the grounds. Ripples form without breeze, and fountains occasionally flow in reverse or pulse with a rhythm unlike any pump or mechanism. Those who peer closely into these waters sometimes see fleeting images. A figure crouching behind a hedge, a warrior moving past, or an angel gazing directly back at them. These visions vanish the instant the observer shifts focus, leaving only uncertainty. Temperature shifts are common and sudden. Walkers often report icy gusts on otherwise warm nights, or a chilling pressure near a particular statue. The effect is most pronounced when visitors linger near certain figures under moonlight. Some interpret these moments as warnings, the aesthetia's way of guiding or testing those who explore its grounds. The sensations are never threatening in a conventional sense, yet their intensity is unforgettable. Time at Dark Moon Estate behaves strangely. Visitors often lose track of hours, finding themselves in courtyards or pathways they do not remember entering. Conversations can be heard around corners before anyone appears, and the echo of Onia's own footsteps may seem delayed or doubled. These temporal distortions add to the disorienting atmosphere, leaving a lingering impression that the estate exists partially outside the normal flow of time. Despite its haunting qualities, Dark Moon Estate is breathtakingly beautiful. Every sculpture is finely detailed, every hedge precisely trimmed, and every pool perfectly placed to reflect the surrounding architecture. Yet the beauty is inseparable from the estate's mystery. Every movement of shadow, every whisper, and every sudden drop in temperature serves as a reminder that the estate is alive in ways that cannot be fully understood. Visitors leave with a sense of having been observed, of having walked through a space that is simultaneously welcoming and alien. The gardens, statues, and pools retain a memory of their presence, and the experience lingers long after departure. Stories of moving figures, ghostly voices, and fleeting laughter spread quietly among those who wander the grounds, adding layers of legend to the estate's already formidable presence. To explore Dark Moon Estate is to step into a living narrative, written in stone, water, and shadow. Every path, every statue, and every sound contributes to an experience unique to the observer. Those who linger under the Moon's pale light leave with lasting impressions of movement, sound, and sensation, forever marked by the subtle power of Dark Moon Estate, the Gardens of Darkness, Secrets that Defy the Sunlight, Part 293. Dark Moon Estate endures as a place where elegance and unease coexist. Its gardens are alive with whispers, shadows, and silent energy, offering both wonder and apprehension. Visitors feel the estate watch and respond to them, creating an unforgettable and deeply atmospheric experience. Every step through the moonlit grounds is a reminder that some places are not merely seen or visited, but sensed, remembered, and carried forward in the imagination long after leaving its haunted paths. We have now walked through 25 haunted mansion gardens in Massachusetts. Each garden holds whispers of the past, restless spirits, and statues that refuse to remain still. These gardens are not just spaces of beauty. They are alive with memory, sorrow, and an uncanny awareness. Next time you wander a mansion garden at night, remember, the statues may be watching, the paths may shift, and whispers from the past may reach your ears. Thank you for exploring these haunted gardens with me tonight. May your steps be careful, and may the statues remain still for your journey home.